Welcome to the next dimension in entertainment. Coming to you live from the offices of Chapter One Films in Charlotte, North Carolina, this is the 4D Podcast with your hosts, Greg Prinz, Nathaniel Levinson, and Marco Brutus. Sit back and enjoy a deep dive into film. This is the 4D Podcast.
Virginia for a video shoot. Yeah, the guy was really interesting. He had a lot of guns.
Has he let you shoot any of them?
No, but he shot one of them, which is also, if you're gonna talk, nobody's gonna hear you back there. But I don't think it's just gonna be me today. Everybody, Nathaniel's here,
I'm
but
tired, man.
I
got negative sleep this weekend. I'm 5'6", and these bunks, my feet are touching the edge. So I'm like, anyone who's taller than me, which was literally everyone.
Let me tell you about
This is just
small
miserable. Can you
beds.
turn my headphones down just a skosh? I'm very
Yeah.
If
Is that better?
much better. Thank you.
Okay.
if Marco's
Just feel like I got
parents
like,
weren't
"Can you
so
just- can you just
sweet,
turn my headphones down.
I would tell you more about the bed situation at their house. It was a tiny little bed. Well, pretty exciting episode here today.
I did finish Stranger Things. I got through all 4 seasons in a week.
Let's go. Wow.
Barely. I was like,
Impressive.
I had the last episode playing as I drove up here.
Barely an inconvenience.
It's barely an inconvenience.
So I might have like skipped and jumped through season 4 a little bit, but I got through the whole thing.
Hey, there we go. And this was your refresh.
My
right?
refresh.
You
I
hadn't
hadn't seen all of it before. Marco has seen and still has seen none of it.
Marco's,
No.
Marco
false.
has actually been doing some hardcore research.
Yeah. So, full disclosure for everybody that's watching, I have not
He
watched
sucks.
all
I'm
of the
glad.
seasons. I watched the first season when it first came out. I watched part of the second season, and then I stopped.
And that's fair.
It's
That's
very
just
strange.
It is a bit strange.
Got him.
Hit me with one of the horns.
Got him.
That's fine.
Either give me
So,
some fire.
so anyways,
Boom.
I'm going to be behind the
I'm
scenes.
trying here.
If you have any comments, questions, whatever the case
Obscenities.
is, please jot them down in the comments. If you cannot jot them down in the comments, it's likely because you're not subscribed.
Yes.
Or
Please
because you're a
subscribe.
moron who doesn't understand how keyboards work. Both of those things could be true. But one
Well,
of them is curable.
Let's
the other
not
one,
assume.
we can't really know.
I struggle with words too. It's not. You know what? We shouldn't just assume that if words give you a problem,
I didn't
that
say
you're a
words, I
moron.
said keyboards.
If you can't comment, it's because you haven't subscribed. So go ahead and do that. We want you guys to join in. We know this is a big kind of time for Stranger Things with a new season coming out. So we know there's probably plenty that you want to talk about.
It's funny because I really haven't heard a lot of hype about it.
It's
I'm
be-
like, I feel like
think it's because the thing like the internet and social media and all the isms are so algorithmic nowadays that if you're not like saying the things and looking at the things, then they're not sitting in your way. So you're like, nobody's talking about it. And on me, on my feed, I'm like, it's everything that everybody's talking about.
Yeah.
And
well,
it's-
no, I feel like season 4, I heard. I'm not talking about internet, so I'm not on social media, so that
Okay.
wouldn't mean that doesn't do anything
Fair.
for me, anyways. But like, I heard people talking about Stranger Things season
Sure.
4, and I haven't heard anyone other than us saying like, "Oh yes, season 5 is coming out." I haven't heard anyone
well,
else.
I've
talking
been
about
watching it building up, so maybe it just seems more at the tip of my tongue.
it.
But
I guess, and this is the last season.
is the last season. They would just get too old. I think
They're already
the
too
characters
old.
are
They're
actually
already
dying.
100 years
They're-
old.
Like Hopper's gonna die, like the real actor.
Have you
He's just
seen
like,
what's her
he's
name,
on
Millie
life
Bobby
support.
Brown? She looks 40.
She's
No
on her
offense to
third
her.
child, man.
Is she really?
No. Wait, she
I
does
wouldn't
have
be
a kid,
surprised.
though.
I wouldn't
She
be
actually has
surprised.
a
I think
kid.
she does have a kid.
That's wild because in
Yeah.
the show she's like, I am 11. And you're like, well, you've got a
She's
kid
a real
in real
person.
life. Yeah, real human being. So obviously we're talking about Stranger Things
Stronger
in
thongs.
preparation for the new season coming out. So hit that subscribe button. We want to hear from you. We want to hear your thoughts, the things that you would like to hear us talk about. So throw that in the chat. Mark will get that to us. But just
And just so you're aware, if any comments, chats, whatever the case is, do come in, I'm not going to interrupt you guys, but I will be playing this sound in the background.
Oh, Jesus, we're so screwed if it's the Demogorgon.
Okay.
Okay.
So when that comes in, that means we got a question, and we will stop and answer it.
Yes.
In the meantime, Nathaniel and I will be going through the Stranger Things series. So we will start at season 1.
Season 1 was really good. Next, season 2?
Season 1 was phenomenal. What do you think? Because you obviously watched season 1 when it came out,
Yeah.
and you've rewatched it.
Yeah.
still, I'm assuming you still watched it and were like, man, season one's solid.
Yeah, season one's still really, really good.
What are some of those things? What makes it so
I think
good?
the biggest thing that I can say about season one is, so first of all, they got kid actors that actually
They
worked.
actually acted
And
well.
the biggest thing for me is to throw a big word at you, verisimilitude. I've definitely used this word before,
You have.
but it's basically like when a fictional world jives with itself.
Yeah.
And in this case, the fictional world is the 80s.
Yeah.
And you're watching that, and it feels like the 80s. And the way the kids act, you're like, yeah, this is how kids act. So, you know, there's nothing. You know, sometimes you'll watch like some of these movies, and you're like, kids don't talk like that. And later in later seasons, they'll introduce a couple of kid characters.
Yeah.
That I'm like, who the fuck is this kid? Like, this is not a child.
Well, and I think
But in this first season, like the way they interact with each other, the way they goof on each other, especially the boys, just really jives with me of like, this is how kids behave.
Yeah, I think that nails it on the head for me because there's plenty that we will get into why I think it was such a great season of a show. But really, it was you got kid actors that were okay. They were good. They're fine kid actors. But they're actually written like actual kids. Like the dialogue they have is that's how that's how kids are interacting with each other. Like it's not goo goo gaga and I don't understand anything, but it's also not like, hey, I'm outsmarting all these military guys and
Not
hey,
yet
if I just
anyway,
and you get them just kind of like they're carrying around their slingshot, you know, just in case the Demogorgon comes, and they're shooting it like thinking it'll actually stop. Like there's so many moments that I'm like, these are really well written children, like and they do a great job. So I think that is the biggest thing, that it's just such a charm to watch that first season and to see all of them. And you join in it, like you become childish yourself, and you're like, they're pulling out their walkie-talkies and they're riding on their bikes and they're kind of solving this mystery. But it's because nobody else really knows what's going on, and they have the inside track with the fact that Eleven's there. But another thing you mentioned is the feel of it being in the 80s, which I think is another huge draw, and I think is going to be different in this newest season. We'll get to that, whenever we actually.
Sure, and I think they did a good job because they can do things where it's like someone's like, "Man, I can't believe it's 1980." Like they can do stuff like that. Like I was just watching something about the worst biopics of the century, and one was like, it's the guys go there is like. The movie lets you know it's in the 1980s very subtly, and it cuts to you on, it is 1984. You're like, do better. So it's just like little things, right? For the most part, it gives you all the things you're like, oh yeah, that's from the 80s, that's from the 80s, that's from the 80s. But it's never like, hello, it is the 1980s.
Well, and the weird part is like, I mean, I wasn't around in the 80s, but I could still watch that, and I'm like, this just feels like what the 80s really were like. And then most people I know that were in that time period, my parents, oh man, look at the carpeted and flooring and the weird like silverware that they have out there, and it's all so like there's just so much attention put into that it's appreciated. And it's all kind of brought together by an actually really well crafted story that has a lot of intrigue that really sucks you in right off the bat. It's a mystery. It's Will Byers goes missing. Where the heck is he? And who is this new person that pops up? And you're slowly, pulling on that thread, moving along. And it feels very much like a X-Files type thing, because there's certainly some supernatural things going on, but we're not really sure what it is. But that first season, I thought was excellent because the people that are pushing the story along are the kids, and it doesn't feel like the adults are just dumb, and that's why the kids are going through and figuring things out. Like they're figuring them out as kids. And then Hopper, who's a great
Hopper's so
character.
good.
He's got to be one of the best characters. I think throughout the show, he's one of the best developed characters. Like there's a few of them out there where it's like Steve, Hopper. I think Mike might have been there before the final season, or the final season, the fourth season, because I think Mike pretty much did nothing.
I think he's kind of trash in the third season, if I'm honest.
The third season, the fourth season,
Third.
the third. Well, I guess we'll hold off till we get there. But that first season, you have the introduction of what is the Upside Down, right? And you're kind of unsure what it is. The Demogorgons they've named them the Demogorgons. They're the beings that come out of the Upside Down and are abducting or killing people. Barb is killed. Will is taken. And they spend the whole season searching for Will, and they're utilizing Eleven's powers, and she's also trying to get snatched. Like the bad guys are trying to snatch her up.
Government conspiracy.
And they're doing all this kind of without telling people. And I think some of the coolest things that happen in Stranger Things are when characters from all that are kind of approaching the story from different angles kind of meet. And this happens in most every season where you have. So in the first season you have. Nancy. Sorry, I always forget her name. Nancy, whose friend Barb goes missing. And she kind of teams up with Jonathan, who has taken a couple pictures of her when she was at the party, and they see that the Demogorgon's in the corner. And so they're kind of putting pieces together as to what is this, and they're trying to pull on that thread. And then you have Joyce, who is like hectic, manic the whole time, and is on right away is thinking there's some conspiracy here. My kid's talking to me through the lights, and she's kind of losing her mind. And Hopper's sort of on her side and wanting to help her out. And then you have the kids who have met Eleven, and they're kind of riding around with her doing their own thing. And then there's a big sense of satisfaction when those parties meet, when it's like, oh, when Jonathan and Nancy are able to talk to Joyce and Hopper about like, hey, no, this is confirmed. We've even got a picture of it. We've seen this thing. And so now, like watching it, you're like, oh, you guys just need to actually talk to each other. You need to meet and talk. And finally they do it. And then the kids finally meet up, and then they join in, and then it becomes this whole cohesive effort by the end to solve whatever the problem is. And that's kind of a through line throughout all the seasons. So you always get different angles from the same, season 3. It's like, oh, these people are fighting the Russians, and these people over here are, trying to attack Billy, and then over here they're trying to figure out what the heck is happening with the flayed and all the bodies that are turning into goop. And they all kind of forge together to figure out what's going on at the end. But I think that angle for storytelling is just powerful. Like, there's just a lot of satisfaction in that. Like, I think that's the reason why you're watching. Like, you need to meet up with the other person to kind of communicate this. But that first season, are there any critiques that you come away with in that first season? Are there any things that, because the score, the cinematography, the feel of it is so well done. It's very 80s. The story is sci-fi. It's interesting. I guess if you're not a sci-fi / a little bit of horror, it might not be your jive.
It's pretty gruesome.
That is something that I've realized that I'm like, I'm not a big horror person, but I watched that and I'm like, I could see how people that didn't like scary things would just be like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
It is it's pushed a little past that line.
There's some seriously intense moments, like seriously nasty, gory, intense moments. And this is just something I noticed, and again, I was homeschooled, so I don't know, with that shit with like the high schoolers and like Nancy's a slut. Is that realistic? I need some back beers. I have no idea, especially in a small town. Like everyone would have known who did it. Like
this is fair. Like so, I think the older you get, the less realistic it becomes. Like when you're younger, I also think at least whatever. I'm sure there's.
I wouldn't put it past kids doing it. Like
I'm sure there are examples of severe bullying, but I think it's less relatable when it's super over the top. When it's like. You're just like, I think that in season 4, there's some of these problems with like the California kids where I'm like, this is just wild. Like those kids are barely human beings.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
But like these two people, I'm like, they're just so obnoxious. I'm like, they don't feel like real people to me.
Yes. So it's Steve Harrington's two friends.
And I'm like, they're cartoons.
Yeah. They're basically just like, they're like
the
the
cool
sexually
kids.
active couple, and they've just they just keep any chance they get to make fun of somebody they will, and that they're definitely I don't know. I felt like that was less heavy-handed than like when you get later on to the fourth season where you get the California.
There were definitely more egregious examples later. The California one is like the most egregious one.
The kids,
I'm watching that and I'm just like. I don't know any kids in high school who are like that.
It's definitely like I think movies struggle to and TV shows struggle to find that line of being like, what does bullying look like? In my experiences, the kids like being quote unquote bullied were far less, at least visual. Like it wouldn't seem like it's affecting them that much. And I think that's why the people would continue it. Like my experience of viewing it would be like, oh, this kid's kind of getting picked on by these kids. But he'd be like laughing and going along with it. And then afterwards, I'd be like, dude, why the heck are you doing that? And then he's like, no, I actually like doing this. And I'd be like, no, you don't. There's no way you like this kid kicking your book bag around or whatever. Like that's like the extent of bullying that I saw where I was like, dude, you always kick this kid. This kid's name is Henry. You always like kick his book bag all over the place. But Henry would always laugh and kind of like jab them so that they would kick his book bag around. And I'm like, all right, so are you liking this? Like, is this just like you like the role here of like ticking everybody off so that they kind of bully you? and I would like I was just confused by it because that was my first experience. Like I was going to middle school, I was homeschooled before that, and I was like, he is definitely the one that gets quote unquote picked on the most, but he's also like purposefully irritating to people. So there's a little bit more to it than he's like the quiet kid that doesn't want to talk and everybody's just purposely like spitting on him and throwing things at him. And like I never
Shout out to
experienced
Henry,
that.
you know?
Like I never. So for whenever I see it depicted in a show, I'm always like, that just looks it looks a little bit. It's too heavy-handed. Where I don't know, the high schoolers, they might have just thought specifically because Steve was wrong that they felt justified in doing something. I thought you were talking about the mouth breathers, like the ones that were like making fun of Will at his funeral and stuff, which I thought
that was weird too.
They were a little. That was a little bit in my opinion, but they were also younger, and I would just picture if you're just real young, you're just kind of a moron. Although it kind of peaks when they're like, "Hey, we're gonna stab you now," and I'm like, "Oh man, this has gotten really intense really quickly." But for whatever reason, that didn't bother me as much as the season 4 California kids, and again, maybe it's because they're older. But yeah, I think that might be a consistent struggle that I see throughout Stranger Things because, you know, we'll get to the different seasons, but if I had to pick up problems, it's that they create a very strong, the kind of supernatural antagonist is usually really strong and interesting and cool and scary, and then like the regular human being antagonists are sloppy in my opinion. Like you get like the jock from like the 4th season, and the group, and I'm like is the whole town just like holding pitchforks and torches and they're running?
Apparently.
Like that to me was a bit silly. And in season 2, I guess you get that with Billy a little bit. I don't know. I always thought that level of it they didn't necessarily have as strong a grasp on.
Yeah. But you see, the thing is, like, Steve Harrington is definitively a jerk and a bully in season 1, but he also grows and matures, and it's like they just couldn't be bothered to do it with the other bullies because they didn't care. Like, those bullies were just there to be bullies, whereas Steve was actually a character, and that's where it feels different.
Yeah, and I think that you can. Yeah, when you stretch a show out and a story out to it gets so big, you're definitely going to have those characters where you're like we're just not going to have time to do anything with this character, so sorry. He's just going to exist as a bully, and that's all we're going to go. Yeah. But it's so satisfying when you get a character like Steve who he's just lined up. I mean, I remember watching that first season. I'm like, he is so lined up to just be the jerky, you know, hot guy, like super popular guy that everybody wants, and he's not going to care about anything. And he has this awesome redemption arc. And his whole entire character arc we'll get into because I definitely have some big confusing questions by the end of season 4 where I'm like, what did he do wrong again? Why is he apologizing to Nancy?
Right.
But definitely in that first season, he is like one of the most likable characters. Just because I think we all can relate to redemption and to having to learn and to grow, and that's why. And TV shows are different because you're juggling so many characters that you almost have to take turns with certain things. Like Max, like she gets her character, you know, development later on in season 4, and you get other characters that just kind of you get to pick, choose here and there. There are certain characters that I just think they don't do a good job. 11 is obviously getting developed throughout the whole thing. Mike has certain moments. Hopper is developed quite a bit. I feel like characters like Nancy and Jonathan, I have such problems with those characters. They are my least favorite characters in the show. Nancy and Jonathan to me
I'll tell you who my absolute least favorite character is.
Is Joyce?
No, I like Joyce.
Okay.
I think she's great. Erica.
Okay.
What a little brat. I would punt her through a window. Oh my gosh. And she's the one who doesn't come off like a kid.
Yeah. Well,
she's not written like a child. She's so obnoxious.
So let's get to season 2,
Anyways.
so we can eventually make our way to season 3. Because I'm going to agree with you.
Any things about season 1 that we failed to mention? It's really good. It's really well done.
Season 1 is phenomenal, and it's the introduction of all these characters that we'll start to talk about as they develop throughout the seasons. But they do a phenomenal job. I think another element, if we're going to touch on one more thing, is that they really try to connect the movie to thematically, like Dungeons and Dragons, to being like, oh, they're like. We're a party. Like they use the language of Dungeons and Dragons constantly throughout and that checks out too for like this is actually how kids interact. Like
right. It's the analogy that helps them understand what's actually happening.
Exactly. And they're like, oh, the upside down, the Demogorgon. Oh, she's like a mage or whatever they call her at the beginning.
This force so screwed if it's the Demogorgon.
All right, got a question, huh?
Well, it's more of a statement. They're basically saying that you guys are both wrong, and that Erica and Nancy are actually the better characters.
Oh,
sorry,
boy.
the best characters.
Okay.
Nancy and Erica are best.
maybe, but Erica the best character. You tripping?
So like we can jump forward and talk about my qualms with Erica. So I think that when Erica's introduced, and I believe you see her at times in the second season, just as kind of like she exists as like the little sister, and in season 3 she becomes a bigger character. I think this is the thing that every character is going to struggle with, and the show is going to severely struggle with in season 5, is that she ages too fast. Like she's still acting like almost like a baby sister, and she's
Really, my issue with her is she's such an obnoxious brat. I mean, just the worst.
Tell me
kind
how
of
you
brat.
really feel.
Just the worst kind of brat. The kind of brat that says, "Okay, your parents did not spank you when you were a child, and this is why you're like this. Like you did not receive corporal punishment, and this is why you don't understand how to interact with people who are older than you."
there are
It's
definitely like
so annoying.
a couple. So like I think she suffers from this a little bit, and I think that Susie suffers from this a little bit, where the show is basically just trying to tell
Susie,
you.
Susie's a little much, but she's only in a little bit.
But
so.
I think the show is trying to just be like, oh, and by the way, Erica is like a genius at everything,
Yeah.
and it's like, well, I wish that she could have just naturally found her way to that, rather than just being like, oh yeah, it's a simple math equation, blah, 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 and she just like spits it all out, and she's got this strange like obsession with capitalism, and like she just
Doesn't talk like a child.
Surrounded by so many characters that are developed and super rich and have depth. Her and I would also argue, well, Nancy is a bigger problem, because I think Nancy, they think that they're doing that to her, but they're not. Whereas people like Robin and Erica, I think they've been like, ooh, everybody is just so charmed by them. So in season 4,
Who
was like,
was charmed by Erica? She is
I'm-
obnoxious.
I'm telling you, like she had some funny kind of like her like snappy sassiness. Like people, I can understand people laughing at that. Like, by the way, I'm not
Yes,
saying
ha,
that
ha,
she's
ha,
not funny.
child made sassy joke.
Like,
Great.
that doesn't make me mad. I typically step back when I'm like, that's all you're using the character for, because then eventually I'm like, all right, now I'm sick of the character. Like, if you're not going to give them anything else other than she's just constantly that
so
sassiness, and there's like
obnoxious.
nothing else to
Yeah.
her. And I think Robin, who they kind of gave some development in season 3, in season 4 was
She's-
just like,
no.
season 4 they just turned up to 100 with like the goofy clumsiness and silliness, and it was like, well, she's more than that though, and she's just like all over the place.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't want to tear apart Nancy's character yet. I will do that.
That's on the docket for later.
All right, so season 2,
I will do that.
Will is interacting with something from the Upside Down, the Mind Flayer.
That's right.
As they later call him, that starts controlling him, and is trying to come through the terror into Hawkins.
Mhm.
So that's the major plot point, is that this door between the Upside Down and the real world is starting to open up, and this guy, the Mind Flayer, is trying to work his way in.
And there are a few new characters added. So this is also where we get the first look at Murray, the character.
Who's great. He's fantastic.
Murray is great, and he also
He does actually show up in season 1.
season 1.
Yes.
Or season
No, he shows up in season 1.
when is season 1?
He comes in and he's telling Hopper that this 11-year-old psychic girl has come in. She's from the Russians.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was him, and he's like,
Okay.
"You told me you give me 5 minutes, Hop." So
Okay, that's
that's
solid.
him. So he doesn't play a huge role in season 1, but he's there talking about the Russian stuff in
And
season 1.
I think
and he's
that-
like, and he says, "There's Russians in Hawkins," which in season 3 turns out to be correct.
Well, he's another character that I would kind of put in that Erica category of being like, you served a purpose, and I thought he was really good in season 2, but then they were like, oh, he's so goofy, and like he always has these rants where he's like, listen up, everybody, and he sits everybody down. Now, personally, I find his humor way more funny and
Yeah.
enjoyable than Erica's, but he's used in the same
Yeah,
way, which
no, I agree.
is like, I wish they would have done, like, again, I think these characters can be funny and can have a background. I think the four main, or three of the four main boy characters have this, where they are goofy in their own ways, but they're also very compassionate, and they grow as characters, and they experience all the different emotions, where just think about it. Even if you do, love Erica, love Murray, these characters are just one-dimensional. Like, they're the kind of wild characters. Like, they have one thing, and they do that really, really well. And the problem is, oh, well, I don't find Erica's humor funny. I find it kind of annoying. Well, the problem is now she's only going to be an annoying character, and she has nothing else to offer.
Yeah.
And the same thing with Murray. I would be fine
Yeah,
if somebody
and-
said, I'm annoyed by him. I'd go, that checks out. He doesn't do much else other than be Murray.
Yeah.
Although
and
he
Murray's
does,
his moments where he's like, okay, well, you clearly have feelings for him. And
Yeah.
you need to, like that. They did that too many times.
yes, and I loved him in season 2 because I thought his role was perfect. Like he made sense to be the closed off conspiracy type guy, and he was like eating all this up, and he's like, hey, and I actually know the correct way to go about, like, you can't just throw all this. We have to like kind of spoon feed it to them, like all the information, like we're gonna bring this whole government place down. But it also introduces a couple new key characters, which are Billy and Max. So Max is like the new girl in the same age group as all the 4 boys, and they're all like, oh, she's so cool. She skateboards and plays Dig Dug. And then Billy is her older brother, and he's like a complete psychopath. Like this guy is off the walls, like crazy.
But also super hot, in
But
like a 80s way.
but has
Like
a
an
cool
80s
mullet.
bad boy. He's got a
Yes.
6-pack and a cool mullet. He drives a sick car. He's always smoking a cigarette. He's got shades on.
So this is also, I think,
And he's a racist, I think. I
Well-
just unclear.
yeah, right. You just stay away from Lucas. This is where this is a part that the love triangle now that exists between Jonathan and Nancy and Steve that develops in this season, in my opinion, was like the least interesting thing.
Yeah.
I was like, it couldn't be anything I cared about less than the fact that so this is going to be a big moment in the arc of multiple characters as it builds up to season 4, which we'll get there. But there is a big moment here that happens because at the end of season 1, Steve and Nancy are boyfriend and girlfriend. So they start off season 2 and they're boyfriend and girlfriend. Now they're having some trouble because Steve is like, hey, we need to abide by what these they're not government people, but all the scientist people that said, hey, we need to keep all this hush hush, and in return, they won't come after us or something. I don't.
Something like that.
There was some deal struck that they were set free and allowed to exist if they never talked about this stuff. So Steve is like, hey, we've got to just start living our lives. Like let's actually pretend like we're a happy couple, and Nancy is like unsatisfied because Nancy's good friend Barb was taken. She has to keep kind of lying to Barb's family. You understand that. I actually think that conflict introduced is a very thoughtful thing. It kind of peaks though in a very high schooler way where she gets drunk at a party and is basically like, you suck, you're full of shit, and just like pushes him away.
Angsty teen
And she's
drama.
like super mean to him, right? And he's like, hey, no, like I want to take care of you. I'm gonna take like you need to stop drinking. And she gets super pissed at him, and she's like, no, you suck, all this stuff. And so he leaves, which I guess, according to some people, could be seen as him being mean because he left her. But I would find that hard just because I'm like, all right, I know she's drunk, but she's also like literally telling him to go screw off and that she doesn't love him and that's just BS. And it was like a really big moment. You could see Steve's like heartbroken because he's like, I love you, and she's like, no, that's BS. And so he leaves. And anyways, so afterwards, Nancy's just like totally fine. She's like, hey, we're gonna go do that thing. And he's like, I don't know, like it was really hurtful what you did. And she's just like, oh no, come on, what do you mean? I was drunk. I don't even remember doing any of that stuff. And he basically goes, okay, well, you told me that you don't actually love me. So is that true? And she kind of just sits there and she's like, So again, whatever. If that's it, that's fine. But from an outsider perspective,
Very
you,
CW.
you would say that she didn't really love him, and it's kind of sad for Steve, but it's fine. They don't really like each other. We'll revisit this later because it becomes the division point between Steve really, really wanting Nancy back and going through a moment of being like, hey, I've changed a lot, and I want to apologize for being such a bonehead. And I'm like, that was the thing, and like I don't get it. Like I guess there are two sides. Like, am I missing it? Just from how I described it, Marco, how does that sound?
I mean, I don't get it.
Steve
Okay.
did nothing wrong.
That's what it felt like. And I'm
Justice for Steve.
I'm
Yeah.
totally fine to hear the other side. I'm not like biased towards against Nancy. It's just it felt like that as a viewer where I was like, and it's not even being mean to Nancy. Maybe Nancy just didn't like him, and she's like, hey, I'm sorry, but I don't like you. That's fine. Like you got to tell people that sometimes. But then to like,
Do you want to talk about how Steve is a great character, and they kind of start shitting on him,
yeah, they definitely
especially
do
in
4.
season 3 and 4.
Yeah,
especially in season 3 and 4.
they
Because like so like his relationship with Dustin is one of my favorite things.
it's the best thing in the
It's-
entire
it's-
show in
yeah,
my opinion.
it's so good that he
Ellen
and Dustin just
Hopper and then
become
him and
buddies,
Dustin.
yeah.
best two relationships in the show.
Absolutely, completely agree. So like while he's growing as a human being, right? Suddenly, just like everyone just keeps dumping on him for no reason. Like Robin's just like, "Ha ha, what a moron!" And Steve's like, "Oh, I am a moron. Oh shucks."
And I don't
Let
know where it
Steve
started
be
because
cool.
because in season 2 he's still like it's one of the greatest moments because this is where that relationship starts, and we're jumping around season 2, but there's a point that Dustin and Steve end up having to go do a task together, and it's so great as a viewer because you're going, these characters have had no interactions before, so now I just get to see goofy Dustin and cool Steve, who's kind of hung up on this girl, get to go and walk, and you hear that Dustin is also struggling with these girl problems. And Steve is looking over, and you can tell that he can tell that Dustin's upset. And the whole time he's been like, "All right, you little punk, like, come on, like, let's keep up with me." And he's got like a baseball bat, and he's like the cool one. And then you can tell that Dustin's actually upset, talking about the fact that there's this girl, and I don't really know what to do. And Steve looks around, and he's like, "All right, man, this is all you have to." And he gives them this advice, and you're like, "Oh, like that's so great," because you're using the fact that Steve, even if you're going to shit on him as a writer, like, he's the popular guy. Let him use that in a really loving and caring way. And they do a good job. Like, season 2, he's great, and he's still watching these kids, and he's taking care of them. He's defending them with his baseball bat. Like, they go down into the upside down, labyrinth in the second one, and he's like fighting the Demodogs off. And he's very heroic and brave. Like, those are his characteristics. He stands up to Billy at the end, and he's actually winning the fight. And then Billy smashes like a plate on him, so he kind of uses an object. Sounds like a foul play.
Greg's in the background throwing a flag on the field, like,
Nope.
10-yard penalty.
Steve Harrington won that fight. So, anyways, so he's still a great character in season 2, and this is also where a theme starts in Stranger Things of introducing a very lovable character and then killing them. And this is where we get Bob, so played by
He's just the
Samwise
best.
Gamgee.
He's so great.
He's an excellent character, and honestly, I'm not like, they do such a good job at doing this, and I'm not mad at it at all. Where they'll introduce these very loving characters, and at first it was a little more shocking when they died. By the time season 4 came around, I was just like, "You're dead."
Yeah. Well, he's not making.
You're likable and you're new. You're dead. So like every time there's a new, so you get Alexi in the 3rd season, who's kind of like this defected.
Does he die?
Alexi, yeah, he gets, remember Murray, like he takes him to the
Oh,
fair and he gets shot.
I'm sorry. I was thinking about I was thinking about Yuri from the
No.
the other Russian guy, the scientist guy. Yeah.
He's like really enjoying America,
Yeah.
and he's like a child going around like with Slurpees.
Yeah, and then
food.
freaking even Drago just comes and ices him.
So
Season 3 was weird, man.
Season 3 we'll
It's
talk about. I think that was the
not
low
the
point.
best.
So again, season 2, it carries a lot of the same themes, and it follows the theme of like Will Byers is the one who's like abducted in some way, and this time he's not taken to the Upside Down, but he's kind of mind controlled, and so they're trying to figure out how that all works. There's a little bit of they introduce another actually loving character in season 2, which is the other doctor, not Dr. Brenner. Brenner's the bad one. He's Papa. What's the other doctor's name? He's a likable.
The big guy.
Yeah, he's an actual good doctor.
Is he the one who gets? Does he get introduced in season 2? Because like, he's in season 4 a lot.
Yeah,
But I was like,
he's
I don't
introduced into it, and
remember.
he's
His name's not Oreo.
it's look it up,
Anyways, I know
Marco.
he. I know
Marco
who
will
you're
look it up.
But
But
he's
anyways,
introduced in season 2 because I don't remember him at all.
Sam Owens.
Owens, yeah, Dr. Owens. So he's the one that's like he's like testing Will when Will's like freaking out.
Oh,
and
yeah,
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah,
he's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"Hey, how do
Okay,
you
yeah,
feel,
yeah,
kid?"
yeah.
But he's actually like he's basically doing the things that they should have been doing at that lab, like minus all the really sketchy, awful stuff. Like he's like, we actually do want to develop things because we think it is important, but we're not trying to hurt anybody. And he ends up like, again, as a viewer, you're kind of like, are you really telling the truth? And he eventually proves that by the end. He sacrifices himself effectively. And
But he's still alive. So
he's still alive. He sacrificed himself in the sense that he's like, I'll stay here and open up all the doors while you leave. And
Right,
he ends
right,
up
right, right,
surviving
right,
that
right.
whole ordeal, but it was a risk.
yeah.
But season 2 thematically follows a lot of the same through lines. To be honest, it feels exactly like season 1, except for one gleaning
Yeah.
thing, which is episode 7. which
What a
episode
trash
7,
episode, bro.
it's so wild.
Such
Like
a
you
sad
like,
side
if
quest.
you were just to watch the first 2 seasons of this show, you would get a total of I think 16 episodes, and all 15 of them would feel the exact same, like a Lord of the Rings. Like this must have all been filmed at the same time. It's so great. And then there was just one that you were like, and then we
Did
went
I
to
just trip acid and accidentally?
it's
put
like
on
all of a
something
sudden I
else?
clicked the channel and it just went to like the loading screen of Rock Band, and all the characters were just sitting there like, hey, like it's
That's
so
terrible.
comically bad and strange, like to the point where like you could say, oh, she needed character development. Well, she needed to get a boost, like an energy
The
boost. Like,
meeting
hey,
the
I'm not
mom
strong
thing
enough.
was important,
That was fine.
but the rest of that episode was just stupid.
It's like
it was so
she
dumb.
meets one of the other numbered people from her. She's number 6 or 7 or something, and they go off to the city. And the city is just again
Chicago.
a scene out of Rock Band, where it's like everybody in this crew. It's like huge, giant,
80s
afro hair
and-
with a giant.
It literally,
like-
I mean, he's not exaggerating. Like, if
Yeah,
you
it's-
watch like a
it's-
cutscene in Rock Band,
Yes.
it's like a bunch of idiot punks like playing their guitars out the window while the cops are
giant
chasing them. And
mohawk
that's exactly
just,
what it
like,
was.
ridiculous.
So
So I
stupid.
did a little bit of research on this because I was trying to catch up because, like I said, I hadn't watched all of the seasons, and this episode kept coming up as the worst episode
Because
of
it's
Stranger
so
Things. It's so bad.
disconnected.
But there was a theory out, and I don't know who it was, some
That she was
YouTuber guy.
tripping on acid.
No, that it was a attempt at just throwing something out there to see if they could make a spin-off,
A spin-off,
later
yeah,
down
that's
the
what it
road
feels like.
about this new character, the sister, as
Yeah.
I understand it.
Mm.
So it clearly felt
Yeah.
flat on
Talk
its
about
face.
another unlikable character.
It fell
jeez.
yeah, and I mean, and it really is. It's like, even just visually, I couldn't even look at them. I couldn't look at them and
It
be
was
like,
like the most CW thing that wasn't made by the
it's
CW.
so wild because even then she comes back and she's dressed ridiculously. Like, they do everything so well in this show with all the way down to like the way that they're dressed and the way that they act. And then she comes in with this slicked back hair and a trench coat with blacked out.
It's such
And I'm like,
cartoon, such a cartoon.
it was
That's so
going
cringy.
so well.
That's
And
so
I'm like,
cringy.
why? So again, we don't need to shit on that too hard, just because I think everybody
But
in
the thing
unison
is, the thing is, like,
why?
if you skip chapter
you
7,
literally
you
skip
will almost miss nothing. The
Yeah.
only thing you miss is her meeting her mom. But honestly,
that barely
it
comes
barely
up.
comes
either.
up.
To
so
be honest, you
if
could
you go, from
without that.
episode 6 to episode 8, you'll be like, I didn't miss anything.
She'd miss the line "bitchin'," which that's
Yeah.
like her. She's just like bitchin', and
you'd be
like,
like, huh, I
it's
guess you picked up a
used-
new.
Yeah. Anyways, it's literally functionally useless, and that's honestly
Straight
what
trash,
makes it
bro.
a little bit better. Is that it's so bad, but it's isolated. It's
Yeah.
so isolated that it doesn't affect any of the. Like,
Yeah.
you could literally just skip it. And if you're like, no, I'm gonna watch it anyways, you'll get like 20 minutes through, and you'll be like, nah, maybe I'll skip it, because that's how I felt when rewatching
So
it. It was
weird, man.
It was
Ugh.
bad.
But-
But again, just to gonna go through the new characters. So Billy is introduced, and he becomes a bit of a villain. They dig in a little bit to he's kind of got a messed up, parent
Like his
situation
dad's
going.
clearly abusive.
And then his little sister Max is a part of the gang with the kids. There's some drama between Lucas and Dustin, both liking Max. And I actually think all of that is played out
Oh, yeah.
really well. She's a little bit of a punk, which is fine to start.
Yeah.
And then she gets really annoying in season 3.
Yeah.
And then in season 4 they redeem her a little bit, which is good. Although I think they should have let her die. I just think it would have been better for the show.
Technically, she's still in a coma. We don't know if she's recovered yet.
Fair. But anyways, those are the key points of season 2. So now we can transition into season 3. I'm like checking just to see if people are trying to comment on my phone, like to ask me questions.
To ask you, Greg, personally, like, I don't want Nathaniel to answer this question, so I'm just going to send a text. I'm going to slide into Greg's DMs to ask him a Stranger Things question. Why do you hate
no.
women?
No, nobody's asking about Stranger Things.
Season 3, I feel like, is where, and again, it happened a little bit in season 2, but season 3, I feel like, is where it kind of like the girls take charge and all the boys are complete doofuses.
There's definitely a lot of that, and so this is where. So I'll get into my list of things for season 3, but there's one thing I want to talk about because somebody addressed it where they said Nancy was one of the best characters. My problem,
she, though?
my problem with Nancy is that in season 1 she was a very grounded, realistic character. It felt very much like hey, you were kind of not the popular girl, but a really, really popular boy liked you, and so you kind of grabbed a hold of that. But she's not just a shell. She has these more important things that she wants to follow, and that brings Steve into the mix because Steve wants to follow her, and she's driven by these things, and it's primarily her responsibility to her friend Barb. Like, that's what makes her an interesting character, is that she's like, I really want to figure out what happened to my friend. Like, I feel responsible. And you can get that. You could get that a girl who goes and sleeps with a boy, you can assume this is probably her first time, or it's like this big deal, and in the midst of that, her friend goes missing, and she feels just horrible about that. Like, you can grab hold of that and go, oh my gosh, like, this is a complex situation, and I can feel what you're feeling, and I get why you're driven to do that. Like, that all makes sense. Season 2 rolled around, and she was they were like, okay, you're gonna figure, basically, that you're going to be so driven by the same thing, but you take that to insanity, to where you're driving to Murray and you're doing all that. I thought that was fine, but it's not necessarily adding a whole lot. Like, she was effectively the same character in season 2, in my opinion. And in season 3, they were like, now you're gonna be good at everything. And she took that level of assertiveness into being a reporter. I personally just think reporters are annoying. But I mean, like they are. Like it's like so. This is.
Can we talk about how obnoxiously stereotypical that newsroom is?
I know. All the guys are just like, "Rah,
He's
give
like,
me a donut."
a woman said something. Smoking cigars, like.
Well, those are the characters. I think that most people are like, all right, you can make an antagonist character, like kind of just like, or maybe like an anti-hero type character that's just there to be a nuisance, but you don't have to make them so like cartoon levels of silly to the point where they're just like, you can get me another donut, blah. And I'm like, all right, well,
like they're not real people.
It's so far-fetched, like it's so out there that, like, to the point of nausea. But the reason the show wants to do it is to be like, you see how great Nancy is, and I'm like, I'm not fooled by that. Those guys are just.
I'm gonna be honest. She hadn't done a whole lot.
Those guys are just awful and weird, and I don't know why they exist. And she is just obsessed with. Again, it's like, I'm sorry, it's like an internal pride thing. It's going, I have to find a story because I believe in it. I believe in, and it's not about pursuing the truth. I mean, if it's about pursuing the truth, then that would be it, and it would just be okay. I want to figure this out because I care about this person. Whereas for her, they change it into like, oh, you've got to make a career for yourself. Like
I'm better than all the boys.
She has this conversation with her mom, and her mom's like, well, I just kind of hung it up early and married your dad. And I don't think the show is like shitting
also,
on that. But
Mr. Wheeler is just. What is he? He's like not a human being. Like I swear
actually laugh
he doesn't.
at everything he says.
I think he's hilarious.
I laugh at every single thing.
I think he's hilarious.
Yes.
He just has these like just one like deadpan. Like I swear he's from a Dilbert cartoon. Like he's not a real person.
It's to the point
but
that
in a very funny way.
In the point where like in season 4 when Nancy's like, I saw my whole family die. She lists everybody but her dad. She's like, my mom, Mike, my little sister. I was like, and so. I think they had this moment, right, where the mom is just like, go out there and find your story. And, like, that's great. But I'm just trying to bring my brain into that situation and going, look, what if the story's not true? Like, right? What if that's not the case? Then you're actually doing all these things that are bad things. Like you're taking things you shouldn't take, and you're doing the things your boss has told you shouldn't do. And you're like,
I think this is where we see a little bit of this is people in the 2010s writing the 80s.
Yeah.
Where you see some of the current generation ideas of how things should be seeping into the 80s, and it's like, would that really be how people in the 80s would respond? Like, ask your parents, is that how they would? It's like, is that the conversation?
And we talked about it when like people in LA and Hollywood are writing stories about small town America, and they're like, look at small town America, and it's just like incest and racism, and everybody hates everybody. I'm like, I don't think you guys know.
I think if you guys went to a small town, you'd be like, well, these are the nicest people ever.
Like a lot of them are really charming. Of course, write about the problems, and that's fine. And then those problems do exist, but it's not like an entire dystopia of just a
it's
melt.
Not Ebbing, Missouri.
Yeah, clearly.
Such a bad.
But anyways, I do think that you get a lot of that with Nancy in season 3, where she becomes the one, like she's the one that can shoot a gun. Like nobody else knows how to shoot a gun. She's like, I am super good at guns.
Well, she does explain why she can shoot a gun. Like, so she's not just like, oh, I can shoot guns. Like her dad taught their family how to shoot. So like Mike never gets the chance, but Mike knew how to shoot a gun.
And that's like I'm not saying like. But they chose her to have that backstory.
Sure.
I'm saying they chose her to have that backstory and also be the detective, and to also have all these people kind of like apologizing to her for the ways that they fail. And I'm like, I don't know, Nancy, to me, like, in what ways has her character developed? And you can join into chat. In what ways has Nancy grown as a character? Like what are her behaviors that have changed?
Well,
She's become a stronger, more independent woman.
well, one of our commenters here is saying that Nancy shooting 1 or 001 or whatever you want to call her. With the sawed-off shotgun was one of the best moments in season 4.
Well, just her sawing off the shotgun?
What, just her?
No,
Or-
shooting shooting said one.
Oh, shooting one. Okay, shooting
Yeah, when
Right.
they take Vecna down, yeah, that's a great moment.
Yeah, and this is not knocking on any of the visuals or like any of the ways that the characters like.
Right, but
can-
that's not a character growth moment. Right, it wasn't like she
it's
was like,
just a
I'm afraid to use a gun.
badass moment.
But now,
Yes,
yeah,
I would agree.
I'm fine with that.
And I
but
think
that has
that-
nothing to do with her character arc.
I would say that even in season 4, like season 4 has
Nancy.
a lot of really cool visual
Yeah.
moments, and we're gonna get to
And
that.
I think
and-
season 4, I think it dropped off to season 2 because season 2 was like very similar to season 1, but not as good. And then season 3
Yeah.
was kind of a clown fiesta.
season 3, this on the second
And
time
it
of
just
viewing.
it's really silly in a
Well,
lot of ways.
so let's try to stick on season 3 here and talk about. So some of the things I like is I think that the aesthetic part of it still stayed
Yeah.
super strong.
Yeah.
And to be honest, that part of it was stronger for me in season 3 because it's closer to the time that I
Sure.
like, I can remember malls and some of like the I would call it costumes. Some of the what am I
Aesthetic.
yeah, but I'm thinking specifically of clothing.
The clothing?
Yeah,
The
I guess
fashion.
The fashion there.
Outfits.
That's what I was going to go for. I was thinking fashion. So some of the fashion and like the mall feel like that was like some
Pretty
of my
spot on.
early memories
pretty
are
spot
like
on.
that actually looks how it all looked and felt.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so like I think the aesthetic feel, like the cinematography.
Oh yeah. I think
the score that held through, and if anything was more exciting to me. In
yeah,
season
I thought that
3.
was great in season 3. I just think the story-wise, season 3 is
It's
the weakest by a long shot.
Yes, it's well, and it does something that the first two at least don't do. Like the first two are very isolated.
Yes.
Mrs. Hawkins.
Yeah.
It's just kind of small town cops and kids trying to solve this big supernatural story. And this one's like now Russians are involved, and it gets a little. You're like, all right, it's kind of fun at first, and like, but then I don't know when you step back or when you rewatch it. I think it sticks out a little bit more that I'm like, a couple of these random kids are like cracking Russian secret codes and breaking into Russian bases and disarming a bunch of Russian soldiers and then making it out with all their information. That seems like now
bit
I'm being a
silly.
little stretched, whereas before when it was like, oh, these are things that we don't like. We obviously don't deal with the Upside Down or Demogorgon, like all that stuff. So you can kind of tell me how people would deal with that, and I'd just be like, okay, well maybe this is how it works. They have 11, and 11 is the most capable to deal with that stuff. So they're kids, but they also have a superpowered kid. So like, I can get behind that feeling realistic, feeling at least their capabilities are realistic, and small town cops dealing with corrupt scientists, like that all checks out. Whereas like actual Russia, like the like the actual Russians, like the commies being all there, having this secret base. Now I have to actually be like, no, these are actual kids working at Scoops Ahoy, and the four of them.
And when did
broke
they
in
build
and,
this massive underground complex underneath a shopping mall? Like,
So and it's like I still like it. I think that a lot of the characters existed in season 3 fine, and we can talk about some points that are really annoying, but I think that a lot of them were fine. Like I thought Dustin and Steve Harrington's relationship grew,
Yeah,
and that
I
was
thought
really
they were
cool.
great.
I loved seeing him like get back from camp, and he was excited to see Steve, because you get this great moment. We didn't talk about this at the end of season 2, where Dustin is like going to the prom, and Steve like gives him a whole bunch of tips on how to make his hair look good. And actually, Nancy has a really cool moment where Nancy decides to dance with Dustin because he's got nobody there to dance with. And that's kind of a flashback to season 1 when he offered her some pizza, and she's like, "No, get out of my room." So he kind of has a thing for Nancy, and so season 3, that relationship is going strong. I like Robin in season 3. I actually think that she's cool.
I think
She's a
cool
good addition to that.
But I do think they use her a couple of times to like dump on Steve.
This is definitely where, and it's not even just her. It's like everybody starts
Everybody's
dumping on
dumping on
Steve
Steve, which I don't
in
get.
season 3. Yeah, and it is a problem.
Steve did nothing
'cause
wrong.
Her
Justice
and
for
Dustin
Steve.
become the ones that are thinking of things, and Steve
Right.
is just like, "Whoa, it
Whoa,
sounds
he's
like a."
Zoink, Scoob.
Yeah, he just like he instantly turns into just kind of getting drug
Yeah,
around.
his brain just falls out his ass.
And
It's
I don't know that he has a whole lot of, again,
doesn't have a whole lot of agency in this one.
he just kind of exists to sop around about Nancy, and then basically be like, "No, now I like Robin." And Robin's like, "No, I'm gay," and
Robin's a lesbian, by the way.
Robin's gay.
He's gay.
He's gay.
And again, like I still like the characters throughout this season. It just gets, I think they bite off a little bit more than they can chew. And I think one of the more obnoxious parts are like, it's when Max and Elle kind of get their girl power
Ugh.
moments, and they're like, again, and maybe people can just hate on us because we're guys talking about, but like, I personally just thought that was just difficult. I struggle in shows when people don't communicate well to each other, and this is on the writing of Mike as well. Like, I think that Mike getting confronted by Hopper and then just like lying to Elle and being really weird about it, like that whole thing just got really annoying. I'm like, dude, just tell her or just tell him or just
her the truth.
So like that's going on in my head where I'm like, these stupid kids, and now I got to deal with this teen problem, and they're trying to buy her something, and but then I do like Mike's response to that, where he's like, and there's this big moment where it's a conflict that's brought up several times in season 3, where he's like, and he's showing that he really, really cares for Elle. Like, he's like, he loves her and people don't. Like, he's like, you guys all like her and she's a great friend. He's like, I love her. And you guys are treating her like a weapon and treating her like a toy and using her to go. And he's like, and I think it's a really big deal. And they're like, well, you're just trying to control her. And I'm like, but that's not actually true. Like,
Yeah.
And he's proving that because he loves her. And yes, he was a super annoying, stupid boyfriend and the whole lying thing. But the persistence of, like, I don't know, her needing to figure that out. Again, it was almost as if the show was just like, yeah, she needed that. And I'm like, well, okay, well, show me the rest of the season what elements of character development happened when she met up with Max and she had all those moments. Other than, like, her and Max becoming friends, like, because they weren't kind of tight friends before that. Anyways, I thought that was a little obnoxious having to watch that in season 3. I was like, okay, we could fast forward this. This is something I'm not interested in. Hopper and Joyce, they have a great, I think they have they're kind of also pulling at the threads of the whole Russian thing where Alexei, they find Alexei and they get to Murray, and they're kind of pulling on the thread of there have been these random Russian guys popping up, and they're tied in with the governor. Governor is the
Mayor.
The mayor in some
Carrie
way.
Ellis, by the way.
And they're trying to figure that whole thing out, and then they eventually get to the point where they're going down into the Russian base, and the kids are explaining to them. And this is where you get a lot of Erica being like, "Let me explain to you how this all works." And
she hits peak, and I think she's fine in season 4. I don't mind her in season 4. Season 3, she was so obnoxious I could not stand her.
Yeah, it became a lot. There's an interesting thing that happens where 11 loses her powers.
Mm-hmm.
And you get a ton of development for Billy and Max.
Yeah.
Like so you find out a lot more, well, mainly about Billy. So Billy becomes like the bad guy. He's taken over by the Mind Flayer, and he's like leading his army effectively. And at the end, he sees Max, and I think 11 is able to go into his head and kind of tug on some of the better memories. And so he's able to kind of shake loose at the end, and he makes a stand and kind of sacrifices himself. And Max is sad that he dies, and this becomes a big thing in season 4. But, you know, you get Max and Dustin dumping each other and going back together. You get Elle and Mike dumping each other, getting back to each other. And Will is just kind of
He's
like,
just there.
why can't we all be kids and keep playing D&D? And they're like, we can't play D&D.
He's gay.
We can't. We don't know that yet, at least at this point in season 3. But he's for sure, like, he's another character that I don't think that there's hardly any development going on for him, and I think it's a shame. Like, I think it's get shafted, but I think there's a big problem with him in season 4. Not just that he's gay, but also just that
he's gay.
He just looks so much older than all the other kids.
Yes.
It's like a college kid.
Yes,
in a car.
and there's nothing against him. I
It's not
actually
his
think that
fault.
as an actor, he's incredibly talented. But the problem is that they all aged. Again, all of them are having the problem where they look like they're aging a little too fast. But he looks like a dude who just shaved like as much as he could, put on the bowl
He's one
cut,
of those high
and
schoolers
put on,
who looks like 30-year-old high schoolers. What?
he puts on kids' clothing and he's squeezing it, and he's like, "Gee, Mike, what are we gonna do with it?" And I'm like, "Who the hell's that guy?" And that's just unfortunate for him. But that honestly, that doesn't happen until season 4. Season 3, he's just the same. I think they use him in an interesting way in that he can kind of feel the tingle, like he's still connected in a way. So he's like their radar, which is a really interesting way to use him. But again, the characters I think do a good job in season 3. I think the story falls apart a bit and gets a little bit annoying.
Yep.
But the aesthetic is still there. Some of the things that I really like about it were still there. So it in no way like drops off and becomes an unwatchable show. I
By
think
no means unwatchable, but of the 4 seasons, I think easily the weakest.
Yeah, I think especially my rewatch, I was like, this is for sure the weakest. Like this is bad. All right, so season 4. So this is the first time that they really they took a big old gap. Like this is like where you start to see season 4 and you're like, oh, these kids are huge.
Yep.
They are.
Yep.
This is the one where Will just looks like a man child, like putting on tiny clothes, and he's like, "Hi, I'm gonna give my presentation in class today." Like, who's this giant? But it's also the most separated. So it's the most detached in the sense that there is some of it that's taking place in Hawkins, but some of it is taking place in California, and some of it is taking place in Russia. Whereas before, even though you were dealing with different thread lines, it was all still isolated
in
within Hawkins.
Yeah.
So I didn't like that as much. Like just straight up,
Yeah.
and I don't necessarily think that it's a problem with the writing or anything. It's more of a personal preference. I just don't find things outside of. It's almost like The Matrix, where you're like, like The Matrix is a great movie.
The more
but
time you spend outside the Matrix, the worse it gets.
The more time you spend in the real world,
Until the
less
fourth one,
interesting.
where it was all in the Matrix and it was all trash.
We
Sorry,
don't
what
need-
fourth
that
one?
movie didn't
It
exist.
doesn't exist.
But it felt like that to me, where it was like, oh, like, and all of a sudden things in Hawkins are heating up, and then it's like, whew, and now we're with Argyle, who's like smoking weed.
God,
with Jonathan.
Argyle is the worst
Yeah,
character. Is the worst character. They need to delete him from existence.
He's
Wow, he's bad.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He
So
so-
useless.
So the three storylines here are you have Hawkins and everybody that's normally in Hawkins, but you have Joyce's family who's moved to California. So this is Joyce, Jonathan, Will, and they've taken 11 because Hopper supposedly dies at the end of the third. And then Mike flies up to visit Elle. This is how the season starts. And then pretty quickly, within like 1 or 2 episodes, Joyce is linked up with Murray, and they're going to Russia because they believe that they've found out that Hopper's still alive in Russia. So pretty quickly now it's broken up into 3 different segments. And in reality, it's like there's virtually nothing there's nothing interesting going on in Russia. Like all of that is like useless. Like they
Yeah.
try to at the end tie it together where they're like, hey, and then there's this huge plan at the end where you have, they're going to assault Vecna, but they're going to lure Vecna with this person, and Elle's like, and I'm going to join because I'm psychic and I can kind of get in there. And then over in Russia, they're like, and we can fight all these things, and somehow that's connected. And they're like, yeah. Like,
yeah, that was a stretch.
It was like the everything that happened in Russia was just like, okay, just get Hopper and bring him back. Like it was so detached from everything, and the characters were a bit silly. I thought that Yuri, I was sick of him pretty quickly. He was at the beginning, I was like, oh, it's kind of funny, but then he stuck around and I don't know. And then California. This is where you get the California like kids in high school, and they're just like the nastiest human beings on earth.
It's one thing that they're like just evil. It's another thing that they're evil and absurdly coordinated. Where they're like, they get Elle to the rink, and they hadn't planned this. Like
Their
the
kids
mean
filming.
girl walks up and she's like, "Wait, is that Elle and her boyfriend? Is that Jane and her boyfriend? I know what we're gonna do." And then in like 30 seconds, she coordinates the entire rink. The DJ starts
circle.
playing Wipeout. They start doing this like coordinated, like synchronized
Circling
skating,
her.
circling her, and they're like, "What the hell is happening?"
There's
It
a
was
guy
so
filming.
absurd.
Somebody
It was
smashes her with a Slurpee.
It was so absurd.
And to be honest, like, and maybe I'm missing something. Again, I watched it all pretty quickly, so I'm not opposed to being educated here. But like, what role did that play in anything? Like, why did we need to see? Did we need
It
to see
showed
that?
Mike that Elle wasn't actually having a good time, even though she was trying to put on a brave
But why was that
face.
important? I don't know. Why
Unclear.
is it important that she's not having a good time? It seemed like they were like, "Hey, I'm kind of not having a good time, and I want Mike to think that I'm having a good time, and now I'm going to shave my head and join the actual show." And I was like, "Well, what was all that stuff before about this about you getting slapped with like the milkshake, and then and then we just left all of that. Where it's like, yep, and then." You smashed that girl in the face and like broke her skull, like she had a concussion. Then we're just like, I don't know.
What can
It
you
was-
do?
It's one of those things that's cringy to watch. Like these kids were just they were like, "Oh Mike, and your dad's dead. Oh, your dad." And I'm like, "What? Who are these children?"
Well, it is California, so.
That's just California. They're all just running around. See, this would be like if we wrote a story about California. It's just everybody's just like the worst.
Well, that may be pretty accurate.
No.
Just walk around in some poop.
But there are are actually some great parts. Like we said, I think season 4, it goes in a good direction as far as like the story direction, and you get a lot more development with Max. Max is like the main character being developed in season 4, at least with the Hawkins line.
Yeah.
It is all about her, and you figure out, and they do a really good job at tying Vecna into. Vecna is, so 11 is the 11th of these, psychic children that Dr. whatever his name is Brenner is molding. And then we find out that the first one was like the most powerful, and we get a whole look into his backstory and figure out that he was pushed into the Upside Down and broken by 11, and he's the one that's been basically molding the whole Upside Down to what he wills, and controlling all the beasts, and breaking his way back into Hawkins to start effing with people. And he is doing it in like the most extreme way in season 4, to the point where he's actually like murdering these kids in a really gruesome way. It's definitely the most violent looking of the 3. The other ones have some more gore horror, where it's like people's bodies exploding in blood. But this one is like, it's definitely the scariest, in the sense that you just get individuals being like ripped apart. Like, I don't know. So they figure out his whole plan is to take these people that have trauma in their past, and he kind of plays with that. He does this weird mind game where he screws with people that have brokenness in their past, and Max is one of those. And we figure out what that is, that she hated Billy, and then a part of her was relieved that he died, and she feels guilty because of that. All that stuff is actually really great, and turns Max from being this kind of annoying brat in 3, where she just like plays L against Mike for no reason and just starts all this controversy, to being an actual grounded character. And I actually like Max in season 4. Dustin's another character that gets a lot of development, that he really likes Max a lot, and
You mean
he's
Lucas?
Lucas, sorry. What did I say?
Dustin.
Sorry, Lucas. And Lucas is kind of getting pulled in because another theme that they've been doing with the whole D&D thing is the theme that they are nerds. Like, the 4 of them are just objectively nerdy kids. They're not popular, and they play D&D all the time. And Will has started to try to pull them back in season 3, where it's like, oh, you guys all have girlfriends, but come on, can't we just play D&D? And now Lucas is starting to get more popular, because he's playing sports. He's on the basketball team, and he's struggling with that, where he's missing out on his D&D night to go do his basketball game. And he has that tussle throughout the whole thing, and at the end, it kind of culminates with him fighting the team captain, who's kind of
Can we talk about Jock McGee?
a certain character. He's such a wild character.
He's an absolute clown.
To be honest, I thought that there was a moment where they might Steve him. I'm like, oh, are they gonna Steve him? Are they gonna make him like?
No.
Because like you could kind of like understand why he's so disturbed and upset. Because again, this isn't like, oh, I'm upset because somebody took a photo of something or something. That you're like, maybe some of the people can think that's justified. Like, his girlfriend was like torn apart in pieces, so you can understand that he's like mentally estranged. But he goes like off the deep end and like the whole town is like, yeah, makes sense to me.
Yeah, so to me, that was the most absurd part. And they really are leaning on the Satanic Panic, which was an actual thing that happened in the 80s. And the Pokemon cards, that happened with that Pokemon. It happened with Harry Potter. Like, it just happens every now and then. I feel like it hasn't happened in a while.
I would venture to say,
but I feel like they lean a little too hard on that. And also, it's like the idea that it's a kid leading into this, and it's not like a parent or being like, no, our kids are being taken by witchcraft.
Yeah.
And pulling out his pitchfork and torch and burning the Descent of Man or whatever.
He definitely was. So I would venture to say that even the Satanic Panic and how that actually kind of went through, where again, people were really afraid of things like Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, and all of a sudden it was like, oh, everything is witchcraft, which is just due to a lack of education. I would venture to say that it didn't look like people running around town with like torches and pitch. I think it probably looked a little bit different, more like, hey, let's hold meetings to try to understand how Pokemon is demonic. And like, that was probably the extent of it, and being like, hey, you can't play Pokemon and don't hang out with kids that play Pokemon. Rather than like, these people in this town were like, hey, we're not even going to listen to the cops in this town. Like, there's now no law in Hawkins. And it was wild. I mean, you were watching and you're like, there is no law in Hawkins. It's just like, let's hotwire this car, steal it, gone. We're just running around. Hey, little girl, assault her. Let's right, like Dustin's little sister, Erica. Just like that. It's like it's like a high school kid. He's just like, hey, I think that you might be associated with that group. Let me go beat the hell out of you. I'm like, what is this town? Like, are there not? Can you just be like, I'm gonna call the cops? You can't do that to me. Like, you literally can't beat me up and kill me.
No, the cops were there, physically present. They're like, all right, hey guys, we can't do that. Everyone calm down. Okay, just beat her up a little bit, but you can go home now. it was a little silly.
It's those are, and I think as Stranger Things takes these bigger steps to try to tackle bigger things, again, all the stuff with Russia, a bit silly that it's like, we break in and just defeat all these Russians. When it gets bigger, when it's like, hey, it's not just like kids kind of bullying each other, but it's like the whole town now is like overtaking the police in the town, and they're just doing anything. There's no law. It stretches a little thin, and you're like, ugh. And having to look at and deal with characters like Jock McGee just became a strain, and it was like, I did not like him as an antagonist.
So Vecna, I really don't like it when shows go back and say, but actually it was this one guy that was behind everything. Woo!
Yeah.
Now I don't know. Now maybe someone who's done a deeper dive into Stranger Things can tell me. Did they even hint at Vecna's existence before season 4? Because I really feel like they didn't.
It's definitely not, and there are some continuity issues, specifically with how the Upside Down is breached. So they make it seem very simple, where they're like, oh, and this was the first rip into the Upside Down. She touches the Demogorgon, and the crack happens. But all of this was Vecna's doing. You know, he was the one that now every time he kills somebody, that's where. But in the first season, there are several cracks into the Upside Down that appear. Like there's one randomly in the trees that just opens up. Like it just opens up briefly, and the Demogorgon crawls through it, and that's when Nancy crawls through the tree, and she's in the Upside Down. She crawls back out through the tree. It seems like it just pops up and disappears in seconds. So there's definitely a bit of nuance and mystique to how the Upside Down works and how it's breached in the first 2 seasons. The second season is a little more obvious, with like the Upside Down is literally growing underneath everything,
Right.
and they're like, hey, you can just dig into it, and it's growing like an actual plant, and there's
Right.
one huge breach that's creating all this. And then the third one barely deals with the Upside Down at all. It virtually all takes place in the real world, and you're getting a little bit of the Upside Down through Elle's psychic powers. And then the fourth seeks to be like, oh, it was all understandable. There was only breaches at these places, where I don't think that. Now, I think a show has to do that to an extent. And
Yeah, but
I
see,
think that
the
for the
thing
most
was-
part, it was fine. I didn't buy into all of it, but I thought that they did a decent job.
The thing was, the Mind Flayer was still there. Like, they didn't kill the Mind Flayer in season 3.
No,
right? They killed the Mind Flayer's body. So I think having the Mind Flayer be the big bad, I thought that worked just fine. It was like he was doing different things, or maybe, but saying like, oh no, the Mind Flayer was created by Vecna. And it was Vecna all along. And so Chuck did this every season. So the first season, the bad guys are Fulcrum, and then the next season you find out Fulcrum was a part of the Ring, and then the next season you find out the Ring was part of this, and then the next season you find out that was part of Volkov, and then the last season you find out that was part of this one guy's plan. So it's like it becomes very silly. Where it was like you have this just infinite regression of things that are happening, and I think just having an other dimensional entity that just hates us, like Vecna, kind of kills the Lovecraftian mythos of the Upside Down, because now it's no longer this weird otherworldly horror entity. Now it's just a dude who's angry at the world.
Yeah.
So, and well, again, I like season 4. I do think Vecna is a weak villain.
What would be a better way to try to wrap something like that up?
I
Because
don't
think
know.
I'm probably with you. Like
I see. I liked the kind of eldritch horror element that they had going on, which ties into D&D really well.
Yeah.
And really, Vecna overhumanizes it.
Yeah.
So I think they should have moved to the other dimension, made it like more alien, like more mysterious. Like, oh, we can't understand this at all.
Yeah.
It just wants to destroy us, and we don't know why. I think that's more terrifying than, this guy's just like, the world's broken, and I'm gonna fix it. Like, okay, be more original, please.
He's definitely like he's creepy,
And I think he himself is good, but I think in terms of the overall, I think it's I thought it was an unfortunate move, and so because because there's no mystery for season 5, Vecna's the bad guy.
Yeah.
We know they're going to be fighting him. So it's not Stranger Things, it's that guy. It's just going to call that guy 5.
and they try to do like, so the people that are in Russia, so like Hopper, and they're like, oh, we can kill these beasts from the Upside Down, and it's a hive mind, so it works that way. So we don't really understand that whole lot. But the Mind Flayer is there. He's being kept in Russia, and they say something kind of vague where they're like, oh, everything got out of the cages, and they're like, what happened to like the dust particles? Like what happened to that? And they're like, oh, it went into them, and it went into who? And they said all of them. And you don't, and I'm like, okay, so did that mean that it went into the dead Demogorgons and Demodogs and brought them to life? Does that mean it went into the soldiers and then they left? Does that mean it just disappeared? Where is the mind flare? Because when they killed all those the Demogorgons, the Demodogs, is that them killing the mind flare? I don't really know what's going on with mind flare. So there definitely is some mystery. Like
a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But it's less of the what and more the how. And the how is like, well, you're just gonna have to wait to see how the how happens. But the what and the who, those are the interesting parts of the mystery. And now that has been 100% revealed. It was Vecna. He made the mind flare.
Yeah.
So it's like there's in regards to that, they have completely removed any mystery there.
Yeah. So one of the cooler characters introduced in season 4 is Eddie.
Eddie Vedder.
He is the character that is introduced, is loved, and then is killed. They do that in every season,
and everyone knew it was going to happen too.
He's such a likable
Doomsday.
character, and they do a good job at making him kind of like he's very skittish, and although he's likable, he's very much like the whole town thinks that he's the one who killed everybody, and it kind of checks out. He's always in the wrong place at the wrong time. He's like right in front of the other guy when he goes up the air and breaks and dies, right in front of the jock guy, who's the jock guy's like, oh my gosh, this guy's a demon. But anyways, at the end, he ends up sacrificing himself to buy some more time, although it didn't really do much.
Was that, yeah.
It wasn't really necessary.
It was a questionably necessary sacrifice because they had already distracted the little bat guy. So
It was more so for Eddie to, and I can understand this. I can understand Eddie going, "What's left for me out there? Everybody wants to kill me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna do something here. Everybody keeps
Noble
saying, I run
sacrifice.
away.
That's fair.
I'm gonna try to do this," and it was more about his effort to do that. He was also another really big friend of Dustin's, and he tells Dustin, watch over these kids now that I'm going. And so their relationship is really interesting to watch. Steve, again, in this is just getting dumped on like the whole time, which is unfortunate. And he's basically sad boying over Nancy the whole time. Just how can I get her back? And he has this big moment again in the last episode where he's like, "Hey, I've grown a lot. I've had to bump my head a lot, but like it could be me and you again." And I'm like, wait. And then I had to go
because
back,
Robin's a
and
lesbian, so he's like hopeless now.
but I'm like, why does he have to grow? Like, where did we leave this? We left this at Nancy.
Yeah, he didn't feel like he felt like he spun his wheels this season.
Yeah, he's like, Nancy didn't like you, and you were hurt by that, and you came back and apologized to her and said, "I've grown a lot." And it's like, I don't know. I didn't see that whole thing. And again, we have Nancy with zero character development. She continues to be the one who is like on Vecna's tail, figures everything out, goes and impersonates a psychologist so that she can go and talk to Vecna's dad,
Victor Creel.
Victor Creel. Yeah, she definitely wears the pants like the whole entire series. Jonathan and Argyle
is
are
just
like,
what,
if we're gonna slide over to California,
my boy.
Jonathan's
just
Jonathan is
such a tool.
utterly useless this whole show. Will is utterly useless. Argyle is like a cartoon character.
He's literally Shaggy. Like,
Yeah, Mike is fine, but they
He's
don't
fine.
use him for anything.
No.
Like he likes Elle, and like that's good. I'm glad that him and Elle, that they're not trying to tear that apart like they were for moments in season 3. I'm like, okay, that's good.
there's one major thing that happens for Will.
Okay, so Will,
He's gay.
so Will's gay now, and there's this big pair. Like Jonathan's, it can definitely see it, and you can tell Will's insecure about this, and he's kind of telling Mike without telling Mike, but he's like, "Oh no, you make everybody feel like they matter, and everybody not feel weird, and all this stuff." But that's it. Like they're basically like, "Hey," he's like, "Hey, how's it going, Will Byers? Like, what am I gonna do this season?" They're like, "You're gay. It's gonna be great."
He's gay.
And then he's like, "Okay, great. What else?" And they're like, "No, that's it."
He's gay.
He's just like, that was it. And Jonathan's like, "Hey, what do I do?" They're like, "Oh, and you're gonna start smoking weed." And he's like, "Oh, that's kind of fun." Like, what? That's
No,
it.
that's
That's
it.
all you're gonna do.
And you're gonna be so useless.
You're like literally, you're gonna be like, you're gonna think your way out of liking Nancy in a way that makes no sense. Like the show was literally like, we need to find a way to break them up to eventually get Steve and her back together. So we're just gonna say
but
that
they didn't even commit to that.
he's like that he can't really commit to things, and he's just kind of confused. He's like, well, if I go to college, what am I gonna? And what if I see her? I mean, she's great, but I just don't. I'm like, I could care less about all the things you're saying. Like it's so bad. It's like
I missed the
every
part
time
where that was my fault.
I missed the part where that's my problem. But everything
Rub
that
some
happened in
dirt in your eye.
California was really obnoxious until you get Elle basically traveling into her past memories to grow, to like soup her up to get ready to fight Vecna, which all kind of made sense. They brought back Brenner, which is a little weird, but there's some development that happens there. It's all interesting. Thought it was very, very interesting, very followable. So those are the big three plot lines you get. And I enjoyed it more.
I was
really,
a better
I think
season than
that
3, like
they-
story wise, but
yeah.
it is bloated.
Yeah,
Like if you look at the episode runtimes, they're all
Yeah.
so 2 of the seasons are 8 episodes long, 2 are 9 episodes long, but most of the episodes in the first 3 seasons are between
Virtually
50 minutes and an hour and 10 minutes.
like all of them are between like 45 and like an hour and 5 ish.
And then so season 3 they're like hour and 15 ish.
Some of them.
Season 4, some of them. Season
Season
4
4.
are like an hour and a half, and the last episode is 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
it
it's-
is long.
It's
It
for
is
sure the way that this
super
next
bloated.
season is going to be.
It is super bloated.
Something you start to see in this one, and we hinted at this, mentioned it, is that the kids are getting older,
Oh, boy, they're
and it affects Will, poor guy, more than any of them
yeah.
because he looks like he's got a 5 o'clock shadow, and like at every scene where it's like, why would you do that, Al? I'm like, dude, I'm sorry.
So-
and he's got a really deep voice, and it's a poor kid, man.
Let's talk about Will's one character trait this season.
Okay.
So
He's gay.
So when I first watched it, I was like, that came out of literally nowhere. I didn't see any setup for it. Going back in season 1, he does get teased for that by the mouth breathers.
yeah.
But again, that you can just chalk up to them. Just
They would say that
being
at anybody.
Yeah, like
They're pretty
just-
brutal.
There's like fag.
There's
like, they
not
say that to
there's
anyone.
not interest. It's not like you're seeing Will
seeing
being
Will be
interested
like,
in boys. It's
"Ooh,
just
boys."
people
Yeah,
making
it's just
fun of
people
him
being
for
mean to
being
him,
weird and
right?
different.
Season 2, obviously, he's mind flayed, so it doesn't come up. Zero. Talk about it in season 3. Season 3, there is one thing, and it's when he and Mike get into a fight. He's like, "You all have girlfriends now," and Mike says, "I'm sorry, it's not our fault. You don't like girls."
Yeah.
He says that one time, which you could take to imply that means
He's gay.
thank you. But obviously, that's not what Mike intended to imply because he doesn't know that in season 4.
Right.
So
Well,
it's
and-
just I took it to mean like he's not into girls yet because they're still like really really young.
I think that was more of the implication in season 3 was that
Yeah.
he's like, hey, let's all play games, and they're like, no, we're getting into girls now, and you're not there yet. It's more of
that was what I felt like
which
in
is
3.
which is an understandable shot to a kid, to
And
be
that
like,
happens,
hey,
and that
Yeah, that's a real
actually
thing,
happens. Like
yeah.
in middle school, like some boys like start liking
Liking
girls,
girls.
earlier, and some boys are like, yeah, girls are still icky.
Yeah.
right. So there's
I
like
thought that was very
transition-
relatable.
and for girls too.
Yeah.
So that part like makes sense, and then in season 4 they're like, no, actually we decided.
He's gay.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's your character arc.
I mean, to be honest, it was
Which
like,
I guess, but
it-
like
it-
it felt like it
but just
came
give
out of
him more
nowhere.
to do.
Yeah.
Like, don't just be like, and he painted a painting about him being gay, and I'm like,
Like, but is it? But he was always drawing.
Yeah.
and it's like drawing doesn't make you gay. Hello.
there.
What's
I
your
just-
name? Leonardo da Vinci.
The problem,
What a
the
fruit.
problem is that like he, you like painting. The problem
Gay.
is that they haven't. He's always been the object of like the mission, like right. Like,
Right.
we got to get Will Byers
Right.
back. Now we have to save him from the mind flayer. The third one, he's finally not the one being captured, but they don't do anything with him. And
Right.
in season 4, you think they finally have the time to do something with him,
And they really don't.
and they're like, he likes boys, but he's not going to tell anybody. He's just going to kind of like say one thing,
And then
here
he's
to
gonna have
Mike.
this really emotional moment where he's crying because he was gonna tell Mike, but he didn't. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like, there's a nice moment between him and Jonathan, which is great, where Jonathan's like, "Hey, let me remind you that I'm your brother and I love
Yeah.
you," and I'm like, "That's great."
Yeah.
Him and Jonathan's relationship has been cool throughout the first two seasons. The third season, nothing happens, but the first 2 seasons, his relationship with Jonathan is really important. And it's honestly like when you see the end of season 1, there's satisfaction when you see Nancy with Steve, because you can tell Jonathan is kind of like Nancy, but it's okay because Jonathan is taking care of Will, and like that's his main priority. He's like, I want to take care of you, and Nancy and Steve are together, and you're like, that all kind of makes sense. Like that's a huge deal for Jonathan, and that wasn't touched on at all. And to be honest, I don't know if it was exactly earned in the last episode. The last episode, Jonathan's just like, hey, remember when I wasn't smoking and poking smut, and I cared about you. And they're like, yeah, remember that? Let's hug. And I'm like, I don't know if you earned that at all. Like you forgot that as a writer for 2.5 seasons or whatever it was. But it was a nice moment.
Speaking of gay,
He's gay.
do we like how Robin went from like a cool, sassy character to like
the comic relief
to
of
just like,
everything.
oh, I'm so clumsy. Oh, I can't stop talking.
Yeah.
Like, where did this happen?
Yeah.
And then I found something out.
Well-
And I learned this just recently because I just finished like walking in. I finished the 4th episode. I found out.
Okay.
So she's like, oh, I just can't. I just start talking. I have no filter. I just can't stop talking, right? And then she's talking to Vicky, who's the girl she has a crush on.
Mhm.
And Vicky's like, oh, I broke up with my boyfriend, and I'm just so clumsy, and I can't stop talking. I'm like, oh, okay. So lesbians are just like really clumsy, and they just can't, and they just blabble on and can't stop talking. I'm like, guys, I'm a lesbian. I just found out.
He is a lesbian.
Well, he's a lesbian. This is news to me. I just found out.
I do think that her character is wasted where there was some opportunity
Yeah.
to she's fine in season 3.
Yeah.
She's a little bit like, and it's not really
It's
her
not
problem.
her.
It's more the
It's what they
entire
do with
show
Steve.
is like dumping on Steve, and she just happens to be the culprit of that
Yeah.
a lot of times in season 3. But she was a cool introduced character, and she talks about how it was hard for her in
Yeah.
high school. But then they're like at the very beginning, you think it's kind of cool because they're working in the video store together. So you're like, oh, this dynamic is fun. And then you're like very quickly, you're like, this dynamic is terrible. Like she is just utterly useless, and now so is Steve. So it's like they're both just being led by Nancy to be like, Nancy's like, come on guys, let me show you my guns and like figure out everything. And I'm like, Nancy, what have you done? Like where is your character gone? But anyways, okay, so let's spend a little bit of time here at the end talking about season 5
It's coming up.
comes out. So
This week, right?
this is the schedule. So on Wednesday at 8 p.m. our time, the first 4
The correct time.
The first 4 episodes will drop. And then on Christmas Day, the next 3 episodes will drop. And then on New Year's Eve, the final episode will come out. I don't know what times those will be for yet.
That's obnoxious.
It is a little obnoxious.
So, but that tells me that that episode is going to take place on New Year's Day, probably, or something.
That might be.
That would make sense to me. That's the only reason I would think they would do that is because it's taking place on New Year's
Well,
Day.
now let's start talking about what we think season 5 is going to be like. So
I think it's going to stay more in Hawkins
I hope. Well, it definitely like
because they brought everyone
again,
back.
yeah. One of the satisfying parts of season 4 is that at the end you get Hopper reuniting with Elle, which is a sweet moment. Their relationship is one of the best in the show, and so she thinks he's dead, and they get to reunite at the end. But more importantly, he and Joyce and Jonathan and Mike and they're all back in Hawkins. And that the satisfying part for the audience is like, great, now I no longer have to go to California or Russia. Like I can just stay in Hawkins. So that part's great. I think
I don't know if there's any difference.
I think an interesting part though is going to be it's going to be like a post-apocalyptic feel. I mean, Hawkins is being like torn apart at the end of the season. Like it's
Right.
be like literally the upside down is like spilling out onto Hawkins, Hawkins is like spewing with smoke and ash, and everybody's leaving. And I'm like, okay,
They did reference more.
like this is going to be there's going to be very little of the I think of the feel of it being like, ooh, this is the 80s, ooh, this is the early 90s. I think this one's going to be like there was never a time that like the 90s was post-apocalyptic with upside down.
As far as
spinning
you
out.
know.
So
How do you know? You were a baby.
So you're not going to be able to be like,
You don't
oh,
remember the
this-
you don't remember the
I
nukes of
think-
'91.
I think that element is actually going to get pulled a little bit from season 5 because I don't think you're going to get a lot of the nostalgia, any of like the movie references or any of the because again now we're entering into a time period where like this is not none of this is actually like the actual things that have happened to
Do you know
to
what?
the
Do we know
Earth
what year
right
it's
there.
supposed to take place? Like what approximate? Like mid '90s?
This is supposed to be
I'll
Okay.
I'll take a look while
Okay,
you while you
Marco
keep
will
going.
look.
Because
Well,
okay,
well,
because I'll just say if it takes place in like '99, then it would make sense for them to do like a Y2K thing. But that feels really late.
No, it's and
'Cause they would
this
all
is-
be,
well,
like,
this is
90
another one of
years
the
old.
questions is it feels like when you're done watching season 4 that you're like this has to like I there can't be a long period of time off. The problem
Right.
is right in front of you. It's
Right.
not it's not like
They literally walk out into a field and the upside down is encroaching.
Yeah, it's like so it's-
Barbarians are at the gates.
yeah, so it's like unless you're going to be like 3 years have passed, the time isn't going to be accurate to like the characters and how they've actually grown in
Oh
real
my gosh,
life.
they're all going to be rolling around in their wheelchairs and their Zimmer frames, like, "Oh my god, Al, you gotta close the rift."
According to ChatGPT, Stranger Things season 5 is set to be fall of 1987, but there's also some hints of it jumping forward into 88 and 89. But
I
that's
thought they were
according to
already in the
Stranger.
90s.
That's according to ChatGPT, but I don't know
Doesn't sound
how.
right.
I'm gonna keep looking. You guys keep
Don't look
talking.
on ChatGPT. Just Google it.
A big question that gets tossed around is what character has the highest odds of dying?
Of dying?
And the most obvious two I think that people are pointing out are Will and Steve, and I think that's fairly.
I think
accurate.
Will, Steve, and I think if they really wanted to do Ballsy, Elle would die at the end.
That's what I think would be. That's what I think would make more sense because you could close it up a little bit
Yeah.
more because you'd be like, okay, all the like whatever the
Yeah, all
supernatural
the
like,
wonky stuff.
she's kind of like gone out with the upside down.
Yeah.
I would like to see her and Mike just like finally be able to be like, hey, we liked each other when we were little kids and now we're adults and we love each other and like that would be kind of cool. I would like to see that relationship continue. Hopper.
See, the question is, are they going to kill Will? Because now that he's gay,
well,
they have to keep him alive. So otherwise,
they have to keep him alive.
Yes, it does. Because otherwise, they're like, oh, they're just icing their gay characters. That's not allowed.
Well, I think the reason why he would be killed is because he has nowhere to go as a character.
That's true. I
He's
agree
gay
with
and he
that.
likes Mike, and like Mike clearly likes Elle. Unless they're going to be like Elle's dead and Mike's gay now, like that would be wild.
That would be
which I
wild.
really,
Oh,
I'm
man.
voting.
That would be insanity.
I'm voting that one doesn't happen.
Steve's a lesbian. He got a sex change. Now he's with Robin.
So I think Will has a big role to play as far as being the first one that was kind of captured and tampered with by the Upside Down. That he's going to have some kind of big moment of finally, I don't know. He does seem tainted. Like he's not. He's almost like he's Frodo when he's stabbed by the Mullica
Yeah.
blade. Like he's got to eventually die. So there's that. Steve makes sense because he's caught in a weird place, and they've just won.
He's in a weird love triangle. We resolved the love triangle. He's also a cool character, and they don't like us having cool characters.
Yeah,
He-
I'm just seeing a fall of '87. That's
Fall of
that's
87.
Was that
what
the
I'm
bite of
seeing.
'87? Was that the bite of '87?
I think Jonathan is another character. I think Jonathan or Steve, whichever one like doesn't get Nancy, they're like, "Hey, you're dead." I can fix that
Oh, and by the way,
happening. He's dead. Now, like, I think Hopper can't die because he already had a death. They would have lost
Yeah, they
everything.
already
I think
faked him
he is the safest
I
character.
don't think they're going to kill Joyce either.
No, they're not going to kill Joyce. Like they would have no parent. Like they already got the one dad's gone. Now
Mr. Wheeler,
they
he's done so.
they will introduce some new characters, and I haven't gotten any spoilers. I haven't even watched the trailers because I know trailers these days are like, oh, I've watched the whole movie. But I do know that I have seen posters that have Mike's little sister on it. Like she's grown up now. She's like the age, she's like the age of Nancy in the first season. So
she's like 3
Yeah.
in the first one.
and now she's like 16, 17.
Yeah.
So she has her own individual poster. So I'm guessing she'll be a character. There's a Dr. Key, Dr. Kay. Is it Key, right? Dr.
K.
Dr. K, Dr. Key. Okay, whatever.
I just have no idea what you're talking
No,
about.
so she's not. They're like she just has a name and title on some of the posters. I don't know who this character is. It's acted by by the girl from Terminator.
Surely,
yeah.
surely not the
The old lady, yes.
Yes.
Oh, the
the
old
old
lady.
lady.
Oh,
The old lady.
Sarah Connor.
Sarah Connor, yeah.
Shoot. Oh my gosh, what's
yeah,
her name?
she's been around forever.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. And I don't like her anymore after Dark Fate.
Yeah, I hope that she's
It's
not
like,
like. If she,
hold on.
I
What-
hope
what
that
is her
she's
name?
not like Dark Fate Sarah Connor in this one, where she's just like,
It's not
oh,
Sarah-
you men.
Is it Linda Hamilton?
Linda Hamilton.
Yeah.
Linda Hamilton.
She's
that's
just smoking cigarettes and just getting blacked out drunk every night and
Nice
shooting
jacket.
people.
You know what? The worst thing that could ever happen to you is being a mother. Like, shut up,
Dude.
God, Dark Fart was like the worst thing that's ever happened.
So
It's
hopefully she's
bad.
not insufferable, but she plays a character. And again, if it's in line with Stranger Things, they're going to introduce somebody really interesting and then kill them. So I imagine whoever they introduce that's really interesting will die as well.
Then she should die just to as penance for Dark Fart. Like,
So I have an interesting little thing here. I just looked up on their Wikipedia, the Stranger Things season 5 Wikipedia, and I have the titles of the episodes.
don't. Nah.
No,
Just
let's not
the
get there.
titles?
No,
No,
I
no,
don't want
no,
to get
no,
there.
no,
I don't want to get there. I don't want to get there.
No,
No,
no.
that's spoilers.
It's literally coming out in like 2 days.
yeah,
I'm just watch it.
So I think characters that are most likely to die, I think are Will has got to be the highest on that chain, and then Steve and Jonathan would be close behind. I don't think Nancy's dying because she carries no weight. Nobody would be sad that Nancy dies. Like she's not.
I don't think any of the girls are gonna die.
None of the girl I could
And
maybe maybe Robin. I can picture Robin dying.
Yeah, I guess you could. But the thing is, like, again, she's not an important enough character. Well, maybe. I don't know.
It's definitely not going to be like somebody young like Erica or
I
the
think
little
of the
sister.
girls, Robin is probably the most likely to die, and of the boys, I think Will or Steve are the most likely to die.
Yeah.
I think Dustin and Lucas are both pretty safe.
They're safe. But the reason they're
I
safe
think
is
Mike is pretty safe, but hey, it could be.
Mike could because so some of the drama with Mike in the last season was that he was feeling unimportant. Like, hey,
Yeah.
I'm dating Superman, and like, what is she going to do with me? Which is
Yeah.
fair. Like, actually, I was like that checks out. Like, that makes sense as a boy to be like, hey, you know, like, why would you need me? You're going to figure that out at some point. And then Will was like, no, you really do matter. Like you matter because you encourage all of us, which is a little silly. And then he's just like, hey, I love you. And she's like, oh, I'm strong now. And she goes and defeats Vecna. That was a little silly, but I did like his emotional development there. I don't really see him dying. But what do you think the season's going to be like? What are some of your predictions as far as like, how do you think is it just going to? Part of me is like, it's just
I got nothing. I don't know, man. I feel like my only thing is I feel like it's going to be more confined to
Hawkins, yeah.
Hawkins.
Uh,
So because again, I think they probably were like, man, do this whole Russia California thing. That's not really working for us. So I think because everyone recongregated to Hawkins, I think it's probably going to. I think the government's going to be more involved. There's going to be more government conspiracy stuff,
Yeah.
and so there's probably going to be like more of a military presence.
They're going to be like fighting it like it's an
Yeah.
actual thing.
Yeah,
like
I
it's a
think
big
Murray's
thing.
going to get involved.
Yeah.
But as far as the rest of it goes, I don't know. I can't really make any predictions. It's going to be interesting because the town's been basically destroyed.
Well,
So-
that's the part where I'm like, let me vocalize it this way. What would you like to happen? What would,
I just want them to have good character moments. I don't know. I don't know what I want out of a season 5.
I think I want Mike and Elle to end up together.
Mhm.
I want that to happen. I want that to be happy. I want them to not. I want Steve to have some. I actually don't even.
I want Steve to get to do something
Yeah,
cool.
I want Steve to
And I
have.
don't want him to die.
To have his Steve moment. Like the most epic part about him in season 1 is that he's kind of like he's the annoying jock guy, and he does that well, and you don't like him as an audience, and that's great. But then he has a moment where he's like, I need to go apologize. Like I actually like this girl, and if I like her, I need to change who I am. And so he comes in, but then he comes in and he stands up for them, and he picks up a baseball bat, and he's like fending off the Demogorgon. It's so cool. It's like, oh, you're the cool, like man, like it was such an epic moment, and they've leaned into that a little bit in season 2, and then he's kind of lost a lot of that. He's
Yeah.
just kind of been.
He's switched from being a cool guy who has a goober like a tender side, especially when he's with Dustin,
Yeah.
to just being a goober.
Yeah.
And I wish they'd bring back the little bit of like he is a little bit cool and mature, but also he really cares about Dustin, and so he'll play with his buddy.
Yeah.
Because he really is friends with. He really likes Dustin.
Yeah, I hope that there's more of that. I hope that him and Dustin have more moments together. I kind of thought that Max, it would have been great if she died at the end of season 4. I think that would have been
a coma. So
I don't really know what's going to happen with her. I mean, I could definitely see this as being like we're jumping forward 3 years. I could see it being like 3 years after the events of whatever, and so she might be out. She might be in a wheelchair. Maybe Lucas is taking care of her. I don't really know. I couldn't tell you what I think Jonathan, Argyle, and
Argyle, I think, will not be appearing this season.
I hope Argyle just drives his car back. But I feel like Will and Jonathan, I'm like, I have no idea what Will, Jonathan, and Joyce. Because now there's nothing to be manic about. Like, Joyce had her thing to be like, she basically is the one that's like, ooh, what is this? And why is this happening? And why is this happening? And she's the one that keeps asking questions and is like, there's more here, there's more here, there's more here. Like, that's her character. I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot of that in this one. Maybe it's just her and Hop finally kind of like settling down, and like Ellie is their.
I think it's going to start with him and Hop and Joyce like dating.
Yeah, that's well, but again, are you just going throughout normal life in Hawkins?
that's the
like,
thing.
Look, does anybody have a job? Are there jobs?
It's really hard to speculate
Are
because
people just surviving.
It might be that it starts, a couple years down the line, they've rebuilt Hawkins, but there's this huge quarantine zone and stuff like that. So we'll have to see. It's either got to start immediately afterwards,
Right.
or big time skip, and we'll have to see
The
which
problem
one
with
it
the big time skip is like what are the odds that all the interesting things are happening here 3 years in? like they're like, yeah, we're going back to school, and there's the quarantine
Well,
zone.
there
and
is
it's
the
like,
Hellmouth right over there, but
it's-
what are you gonna do?
it's
I
like
mean, to be honest, that sounds very much like small town America. Like, we can't do anything about this. We got stuff to do. Like, we're just Farmer Jim. He just doesn't grow his crops over down that line. Every now and then we lose a cow, but like, what are you gonna do? Government can't help us. We just got to make a living here. That sounds very realistic to me.
Yeah, I would love to see it end with. It would be cool to see something I liked about the first season was that the kids all had a believable role to play in achieving the victory, but solving the problem, and everything made everything checked out. It was like, that makes sense. It makes sense that you could do this because whatever. It makes sense that Nancy could do this, and that Jonathan could do this, and Steve could do this, and they all kind of played a role to solve the problem. Whereas in these later seasons, it's felt like certain characters have kind of dropped out and been useless. And I'm like, I would love to see the main characters. And when I say main characters, when you think main characters, you think the 4 main boys, 11, and then you have Steve, Nancy, and Jonathan, and then Joyce and Hopper. Now, you have additions to that. I mean, there are characters like Robin, there's characters like Max, characters like Erica, there's Murray. But I would consider them maybe a tier down from your main characters, and that's
I
still
consider Erica several tiers down.
that's still a lot of
Again,
characters.
she was most insufferable in 3. She was she was much more tolerable in 4.
I would love to see the main 4 boys interact more together.
Yeah.
That would be cool to see the 4 of them kind of be like a hey, because that really does happen.
That was pretty missing in this season.
Yeah.
Because they were all scattered.
Yeah, you get a lot of that in season 2, because season 1, Will's missing the whole time, so the 3 of them are trying to solve things.
Yep.
But 11's there, and so Mike's kind of preoccupied. But in season 2, 11's gone and Will's back, and so you get the 4 of them for quite some time through the first 3 or 4 episodes, kind of just being themselves, and that's very enjoyable. I would love to see some of that here in this season, because you haven't really gotten a whole lot of that in the other ones. So would love to see the 4 of them reunite a little bit. Would love to see Steve do something awesome. Just give him his praise. He's an amazing character.
I'm going to do a wheelie off a flaming motorbike with a chainsaw right into Vecna's face. That's what I want to see. That's my wish list.
Best.
I want to see him army of darkness.
What would be the greatest character to defeat Vecna? I'm gonna go Steve.
I think it would be if
It would be
Steve did it,
amazing.
and everyone's just like, what?
If Steve defeats
awesome.
Vecna, number 1 thing. I don't know who would be.
It's going to be L.
Of
but
course, it's gonna be L.
If it was Steve, that would be
I
wild.
could see Will having some role to play,
Yeah.
because he's
doing some sort of sacrifice thing, and that would be
it could
how
be
he
like,
goes
hey,
out,
I'm a part of the I'm connected to you. So if you hurt me, whatever, and something weird like that. So I can see Will or L being the main ones. But yeah, it'd be cool if Mike or Steve had some moment of bravery. I think would be. I'd really like that. But yeah, those are my. I think the aesthetic will not be there. I think that's one thing that you're not going to. It's not going to be like, oh, it's just like the early '90s when that giant
Or late
volcano erupted in the middle of nowhere.
Well, Mount St. Helens was. When did Mount St. Helens erupt?
I don't think that this is going to be like Mount
It's
St.
fairly,
Helens.
but I mean, I went to Mount St. Helens. It looks like a hellscape. The one side, the side away from the blast, looks perfectly normal. The side-
1980.
1980. The side towards the blast is just like ash.
Yeah.
It's wild. It looks insane.
Oh, maybe it'll be like that.
Maybe. But yeah, so you got 5s for us.
I don't. I
Okay,
know.
so
Fired. You're fired. You're fired.
let me hurl something at you. So give me your top 3 favorite characters in Stranger Things, in order. So from number
Top
3
to-
to number 2, and then your best one
Steve,
is what, number 3?
number 1.
Okay, no,
Hopper.
Okay,
And then who would my third favorite be? I really like Dustin.
Dustin. Okay,
I go Steve, Hopper, and Dustin.
I-
And I really like Joyce too. So she and Dustin would kind of I might switch back and forth on those.
I like Steve, Hopper, and 11 probably.
I do like
I think Mike is up there though for me. I love Mike in the early ones. I actually like, especially in season 3, where it feels like everybody's just being such an idiot. And like Mike has his brief moment, but he's kind of being scared by Hopper. Hopper's like, I will kill you if you talk to her. So he's like, I have to lie. But he is like, he just really cares for her. And like that's it. Whatever. Even if that's his only character arc, like that's a powerful one. And like everybody else seems to not be thinking about that all the time. And he's like, he seems to have some wisdom there. So I like Mike. So I'd probably be him or 11 would be the third spot, but definitely Hopper and Steve are number 1 and 2. 3 least favorite characters, and not like random jock guy or random jock guy's friend, like a character that's actually in the show.
Least favorite, Erica.
Okay.
Ask me a hard
I
question.
could have told you that one.
Next least favorite of the regularly occurring characters.
And they have to be alive, so it can't be one of the ones that died. Can't be, not that you would, because most characters that die are great. Rest in peace, Barb.
Trying to think of an annoying character who's still alive.
Nancy.
Yeah, well, Nancy would be on that list. And
Nancy is
then-
my bottom one.
and then, man, I can't think of a third one because I like most of the characters. Just Erica really rubs me the wrong way, and Nancy can be obnoxious as well.
Nancy wasn't always there. In the first season, she made a ton of sense as a character, and then like
Yeah.
slowly, just I was like, "What are you doing to her? You're just like propping her up as your golden child TV show."
Argyle, I hate Argyle.
That's fair.
I can't stand Argyle. He might be. He's the lowest for me. Him, then Erica, because Erica at least got better.
And you can't like. I feel
And,
like for me, Susie was that. Like, I just hate characters where they're
Susie
like.
was in there so little that
Yes,
it didn't
that-
bother me.
But I hated that they're like, it's Susie. She's a certified genius. She can do anything. I'm
Like, have you
thank
heard
you
of the
for
internet?
telling me?
It's gonna be huge, and I can already hack things.
And
Like,
she's just
man,
like,
come on.
let me hack the whatever. And like, she's just like in this absurd. Again, her house is like cartoon character levels.
Well,
of
she is a
weird.
Mormon.
She's a Mormon, so like, it's just like, but still, I've filmed at some Mormons' houses, and it's not like that. They're like kids interacting in live theater and like slicing each other.
And
up
where's the mother?
And
Hello?
there's just like a dad that's just like profusely working, and he's just, and they're all like, it was just
It was
like-
a cartoon.
It was a cartoon, like, and she's just there, and she's like, Jesus, don't look at me while I hack the internet, and she's like a complete, she's just like, what is she hacking the government? But she's just like, brrr. Anyways, that to
Pretty
me was
much.
just like, why have this character who's just like, oh, it's Susie, she's good at everything, we should go talk to her. Really, you're gonna question Susie? She's good at everything. Like, they had so many of those lines where I'm like, no, please tell me, character, have your character
Tell me how this 11-year-old
Yeah.
is hacking the mainframe.
That's what I think they did a great job about earlier. Whereas in this one, when they get into like Erica and Susie, it was like, all right, well now you're getting into a little bit too much the Hollywoody, like, hey, isn't it great when these little kids just outsmart all the dumb
Adults.
So I would
That's
put.
one of my biggest concerns with the next season. And granted, I'm not.
They're not going to be kids anymore though. So you
Well,
don't have a
here's the issue. I'm just worried, and
They're going to be the dumb adults
The
getting
biggest
outsmarted by the
thing-
kids.
the biggest reason why I don't watch TV is just the
Children.
constant like just pushing the leftist ideologies on
Oh yeah, because
everything.
movies are so good about that.
You know, I can guarantee
It's just
you.
because Hollywood is where it's made.
It's Hollywood, man. It's so
that's Hollywood, baby.
obnoxious.
That's
It is
Hollywood,
just
baby.
punching you in the face of like I can almost guarantee you if there is some sort of like military presence where there's a lot of cops,
They're
I
just gonna all
guarantee
be
you
evil.
they're all going to be beating up and degrading the black kid.
minority characters are all just going to be beat
It's
up.
just going to be.
I'm surprised the small town cops haven't beat them Will yet.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. It's gonna be like that. If they have the opportunity, they're going to do it, and that's what irritates me. I was looking up just quick stat. It was back in the 80s. There was a study done that less than 1% of the teenagers in the world identified as LGBT. So 2 of the people in the 80s are either gay or lesbian.
In a small town, by the way.
Like,
They're both
I just-
gay and lesbian. That's the
He's-
crazy thing. That's
he's
what you're gonna find out. You're gonna find out that Robin is also gay, and that Will is also a lesbian. That's gonna be the big
And this
twist.
is why I just don't enjoy watching TV. I just don't enjoy it because as soon as it happens, you're just
It definitely. Well, the problem is, I think it takes you. It removes you from the reality of
Exactly.
it. I think
that word I use,
Yes.
verisimilitude. As soon as they introduce that, I'm like, oh, good, you found the one gay kid in Indiana at the time. Like, well done.
yeah.
And
It's just
why
obnoxious.
when you're watching something like Rings of Power and you're like, why does Rivendell look like downtown LA? Like,
so
why is it like
does the ship float and the stone shakes? It's because the ship looks up, isn't it? Like, what?
and it's the same thing with everything. You watch
It's every movie nowadays. It's every TV show nowadays. That's why I just don't watch TV.
Yep.
Like
Well-
normal modern day TV. I just don't.
But-
I like some of the older shows, but I just can't do the new stuff.
The
Yeah,
reason
that's
the
totally
reason it's obnoxious is because it does. It takes you out because you're starting to realize, oh, this is the studio now going. Well, we need 3 of the people who look like this, and 3 people look like that. And 3 people
Exactly.
look like
And
that.
so
We
this
need
is
one of
why-
these and one of these and one of these. And then you're going, well, then you're actually telling me that it's not what's actually happening in this fictional story. You're just you're throwing what you want at it. Like now you're removing me so far from the
Exactly.
story, and I'm just seeing you write it. And that's why I don't like characters like Nancy, because I'm like, I 100%. They're like,
That's why,
"Ooh,
like,
a strong
that's
female.
another
Like, we
thing,
need to
it-
make her do these things." And I'm
Yeah.
like, she was already a good character. Let her be a good character. And she's a girl. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah,
Don't
and
be like.
Steve White. He was a cool guy. We can't have cool men. Ugh.
I just I
like,
can't. I
So
can't do
those
what I felt
things
like.
I think are the more obvious things and more examples of poor writing. And I think that, like, you can do all of those things if you do a good job writing them. Like, I think you
And
can do all
to
of those
just
things.
go back to episode 7 of
Oh.
season 2. That was a Burger King Kids Club of punks.
Dude,
Are you
yeah.
kidding me?
That-
Downtown Chicago, and they had like the Indian kid and the Asian kid, and I'm like, hello.
The haircuts were just
Literally, like picked, like said, "Hey, we need an application from every continent," and just like picked them out one by one. Like, okay, you're
So
from
bad.
Asia, you're from Africa, you're from Europe, you're from like, hello.
Yeah, it's so I think that it's a fair prediction that it'll be like that. I have to definitely like dampen that side of me
Yeah.
in order to watch anything nowadays. I'm just like
Yep.
I can't get past it.
It's it can be
I'm
fair.
so
very-
acute to it.
It was so hard for me to watch Evil because it was so present in that. It was
Yeah.
mind-boggling. It actually became something that I actually looked forward to.
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to make these Catholics be like, well, being gay is fine. Well, you know, the Catholic Church is really racist, but it's okay because I'm one of 200. It was just mind-boggling how much they just stuck in there when it had nothing. They're trying to exorcise demons. It
Yeah.
had nothing to do with anything. Every single bad guy, bar none, was a white male.
Yep.
Bar none. This is and this is an episodic series where it's a new bad guy. Every single one, bar none, was a white man. I'm like, wow. It was so bad.
it's like the social narrative is an obnoxious thing that I think is clearly tracked. Like you can just see it. It sticks out like a sore thumb in anything you watch.
It
And then
really
there
does.
there are some movies where it's like that's all it is. Like where you're like, you ever seen the trailer for One Battle After Another, which is effectively just like that's all it is. It's just like
Anti
we're
for
gonna
the movie?
pour all of this into a big bucket and like stir it up. And I'm like, okay, I literally wouldn't be able to watch that. And then there are some where like this is a great movie, and you can just see the moments that they just dripped it all in, and I'm like, I'm just gonna ignore those and just keep moving
See,
on.
that's my
And- and
issue
I-
is
and I
that I
think-
can't ignore
I
them
think
because
that's
it's
fair.
just so it's a slap to anyone of my skin complexion directly to the face, and it's like, okay, come on, like
Yeah,
I'm not a
it's-
bad
it's
guy.
the-
I
yeah,
promise you, I'm
it's
not.
the idea of like
it's
you're
so
watching something made
obnoxious.
by someone who hates you, and
Yes,
it gets
and
difficult
it's the
after a
same
while.
thing. It's the same thing with the race. It's the same thing with the sex. Every modern day TV show, every dude is a bumbling idiot and asshole every single time, without fail.
And I'm like, most of the straight
and
white
the-
guys I know are not
and the
bumbling idiots
wife
and assholes.
or the girlfriend or the female is the most amazing and so strong, and she could beat up everybody. And it's like, yeah,
It's so-
Can't she though?
part of me just like so specifically with the idea of like the again we'll go physically strong female characters where they're like actually just like the stronger versions. I'm
Abby.
like I'm always just sitting there and I'm like, have you met a lot of girls? Like have you met like 5 girls? And this is not like listen, like I
Elle
I
has
really enjoy
telepathic powers.
yeah,
so like,
I think that's great. Like, right, you like the Matrix. It's all about your mind and how. That's great. You can have girls kicking butt in the Matrix. But like, if we're here in the real world and it's just like, oh, I'm gonna like, listen, I'm in the whole combat sports scene. Like, I love that, and there are probably plenty of girls out there that train and that are phenomenal at all the kinds of martial arts. Could beat up a few guys, but it's like.
a few.
Yeah, but it's like one guy that's trained could beat up all girls, like every girl that's ever existed. And it's such a silly conversation to have because you just don't see it. Like we live in a culture where it's like, yeah, men, we don't touch girls. Like that's not what you should do. Like you're the more like physically strong vessel. Don't go and do that. That is not good. And that's a great thing that we have in this culture. But then we watch all these shows where it's like, yeah, and it's because girls could beat up all the guys, and it's like. No, well, no, that's not why.
Yeah.
And like,
So anyway, so that's my concern with season 5 is that they're going to just drip it in
for
there.
sure, it's
and,
like,
and
it's
just-
definitely gonna be
because
there.
I do plan on watching season 5 so that when we do this episode again for
You
Stranger
just
Things,
rant about it.
I'm gonna try the best I can to not rant about it the entire time.
Just
but if
know,
I
like-
had to guess, I'm probably going to. If you don't like that, probably you're not gonna like me. But that's okay. That's fine. fine.
Hey,
I'm willing to be
everybody's
hated.
entitled to their opinion, and
Even
that's
if it's wrong.
Even if it's wrong. But yes, I think that is a fair observation. I would say that there is a 100% chance that there was some of that in there. How much of that they kind of shoved down your throat, we'll see. I would love if Nancy's character gets a little bit nerfed. I would think that would be a positive step. I think that it would be great if Steve's character got a little buffed. I think that would be a positive step. I think if we were just less involved with Will and Robin, that'd be a positive step. But who knows? Who knows where it's going to go? But yeah, I'm excited. I'm genuinely excited. I think that as far as like TV shows that everybody has been kind of into, this has been the first one in a while. I mean, Stranger Things has been a pretty big deal, and so the fact that it is ending, I think, is going to be it's a cool. I can't remember the last TV show that's been this big, like, and had this much following and had this much attention to it when it's coming.
Everything's fractured now, so it's unusual. Stranger Things was like the first big original, like one of the first big originals, streaming originals.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're glad that you joined along with us. If you listened in, if you had more questions and thoughts about Stranger Things, ask them, because we will be having a follow-up Stranger Things episode after the entirety of Season 5 has come out, and we will talk about those things in Season 5. So if you have questions that you want us to address, drop them in the comments. So in 2 weeks from tomorrow, because next month we're going to be switching back to Tuesday. I believe that is the 9th. Marco can confirm that for me. That will be our wrap up. That will be our Christmas episode. We will
yes, it is the 9th.
We will be each picking a Christmas movie. Nathaniel will be picking
the best Christmas pageant ever. It came out like a year or two ago.
Best Christmas pageant ever. Marco will be picking
Klaus.
And I will be picking Die Hard. That is questionably a Christmas movie, but the controversy will be an interesting point of conversation.
I'm going to pick Harry Potter 1 because that has a Christmas scene. So
hey, anyways, so that's what we'll be talking about on the 9th. So come with your Christmas spirit and tell us some of your favorite Christmas movies. So we can chat about that. We will be having a follow-up episode on the 16th, so we won't be waiting 2 weeks. We'll be doing it the following week, and that will be our Season 5. This is Season 5, yes? Season 5 wrap-up episode. We'll be doing a rankings. We'll do some other fun things, and we'll also preview what we'll be doing for Season 6 come next year. So we're excited about that. We hope that you guys join us on the 9th, on December 9th. Until then, let's watch some Stranger Things, y'all.
And drink some Stranger drinks.
Go
to your local international food store and get some wacky drinks.
I think I was supposed to do that today.
I was out of town.
Well, that's fair.
Argyle would have made the
He's
Stranger.
gay.